Welcome everyone and a call to order the Town of Old Saybrook Zoning Commission for Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. Town Hall, first floor conference room at 302 Main Street, Old Saybrook. If everyone would stand so we can do the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, myself, Mark Caldarella, Chair, Derek Kennedy, Vice Chair, Don Henry, Secretary, regular commission members Laura Gray and Robin Kelly. Also have this evening, alternate, Michael Kelly. Our CEO is absent this evening. Our clerk, Joanne Galley, our attorney, Matt Willis, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the audience and five online. Regular business, minutes.
Can I just say that for the record, since I wasn't here for the last meeting, I watched the video of the last minute and I feel comfortable to discuss the topics tonight.
Okay, thank you. Minutes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as for discussion. Oh, we need a second. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, in discussion, we have a couple of corrections. Laura seconded. There were some inaccuracies. And Joan, you help me look through.
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
For the cannabis pickup window, when Janice was here, she kind of melded the two into one. So we needed a close the public hearing without an effective date. And the correct maker and seconder was Mark and Robin. And then we needed a separate motion to approve, which was missing. It was on the video, you guys did it, but she didn't correctly get it on paper. And on the separate motion to approve, it was approved by Casey and seconded by Mike, effective March 1st.
Okay.
So the motion tonight will be to approve the minutes as amended this evening.
There, Laura, would you second that again,
Second.
please? All right, any further discussions or changes or corrections? Not hearing any, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained.
Oh, abstain.
You'll abstain because you, okay. Show the record that Derek abstained, please. Correspondence, we don't have any other than what's in the stack of papers we have this evening. Moving on to new business. Fenwick ice cream discussion has been continued to March 30th. There will be no discussion this evening. Continued public hearings, SHM Ferry Point Marina application for special exception permit and coastal site plan review. Demolish existing marine building and construct new 20,500 square foot building for boat storage, repair and office space. Marine Industrial MI District, Coastal Zone, Coastal Management Zone, Connecticut River Gateway Conservation Zone, FEMA SFHA AE9 Flood Zone, 228 Ferry Road, map 59, lots 102. The applicant is SHM Ferry Point LLC. Agent is John Paul Garcia. Our action is continue or close by 3/2 or no later than March 8th of 2026. Mr. Garcia, well.
Good evening, for the record, John Paul Garcia, and with me is Josh Magnani from Saybrook. He's the marina manager. We've received the last meeting, we received a bunch of comments from Nate Jacobs and Joseph. We addressed those comments, sent them to everybody. He sent back a review on Thursday, which we just got a they appear to be relatively minor, and I can do this either one of two ways. Either you can tell me which ones you would like to talk about first, or I can go through the list and we can address it that way.
Whichever way you're comfortable.
Then let's go through the list. February 26th, 2026, it's a letter from Jock Jacobson He lists the drawings that we sent back in his site plan review. As previously noted, existing building to be removed is pre-existing and non-conforming with respect to minimum required site setback and minimum permitted building coverage, while the proposal building to replace existing building will still be non-conforming with respect to the minimum required site setback. It will be quite late. We're taking down the existing building. Taking down the existing building, and we're putting up the new building. You have architectural plans for that. Oh, before I forget, there was also a comment at the last meeting about the sign permit being in arrears, and that was resubmitted with the correct square footage and stuff. So you should have a separate sign permit also. Okay.
Let's take point by point if we can.
What's
You
that?
don't have a written response to the Jacobson
No,
letter?
we got this Thursday night. I missed it. I apologize.
Okay. But you're gonna address them point by point?
Yeah,
Okay.
most of it's relatively innocuous. There are 3 items which are gonna require discussion with the commission. As previously noted, the existing wall and sign, there's a wall and sign here that were installed after we did the survey. It's approximately 20 feet long with 2-foot wings. It's made out of concrete block, and there's a sign on it that says Ferry Point. That he wants that shown, that's all.
Currently not on the. point.
I saw the old sign that was when we did the survey back in 23.
But it's currently not on the plans that we have in front.
That's correct.
Okay. But you agree,
Yeah, I did.
agree to that, is
Yeah.
that correct?
That's not a big deal. I'm gonna show the last.
Clear, that's all.
Yes, we will do that. To be done. A sidewalk is shown along the frontage of the property is required. There is a note on the drawing that states proposed 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk, field fit location. This is a relatively unusual setback because normally roads are 50 feet wide. This thing here is quite a bit larger than that, the frontage setback. And so we propose to keep it up next to the road, and there's some utility poles, and we'll just weave it around the poles. And what Job Jacobson says is the condition of approval, the contractor will be responsible for construction of the sidewalk should be required to meet with me and the director of public works. And so that's fine. We'll keep with it. We do this all the time and it's not a big deal. The only thing he did say was at the driveway entrances, they want an 8-inch thickness. When you do concrete sidewalks where cars drive over, they're heavily reinforced. And so he wants to make sure that we follow the Honorable Saybrook standards, which we will. That's to be done. As previously noted in 4A, we questioned the 6 spaces located to the west of the garage. He was talking about, on the original drawing, there were 6 spaces in front of the here, which we removed. Right. We still have in excess of we need 68 and have 76 plus 3 handicap.
After removing those 6.
After removing those 6.
76 plus 3, did you say?
Yeah. We had 6 spaces here. There's 2, if you look on the architectural drawings, there's 2 doors there, so we just took the spaces out. Previously noted that while a total number of required parking spaces are located on 3 separate lots, the zoning regulations permit shared parking provided these are cross easements, including the present and future landowners to allow the common use of the existing parking areas. In the response included in item 1 above, we were advised that an easement exists for the use of 226 Berry Road property owned by Eversource, which we submitted. And we sent a copy of that to Krista, and it shows that they have legal use of the easement area
For Eversource.
for Eversource.
Correct.
And then the commission wants cross easements.
Correct.
Well, what form of a letter saying that, or do you want a legal document from an attorney?
Legal document is what needs to be recorded with the deed, right?
Okay, then we'll-
We can do that as a condition, but as a
Yeah.
formal document, it has to be.
But that's what, there was a question because it could be done in any number of ways. So if you want a legal document, we'll have to have SHA's attorney, Safe Harbor's attorney, draft up a legal cross easement and we'll record it on the land records.
It's an interesting property because it's actually 3 or 4 addresses
Right.
for the town that's operating as one business.
And they can't operate independently. I mean, if you take away one property, the whole ship can fall.
Historically, the commission has always been consistent with this in that,
That's fine.
all right, that in the event on same ownership, if one lot is ever sold, there needs to be a recorded easement.
That's why-
That's
we're
why
happy
the
to provide-
request for all of them.
As a condition of approval, we're more than happy to provide one to be recorded on the land record.
Mark, can you, for the record, state what you want the easement to show, because we're gonna need it for the conditions.
It's gonna be a cross easement for,
Yeah,
Access.
between the three
For the
properties,
tree, just for,
and
the-
if we have to, we can record the existing conditions map.
that's it, that's all we need. Okay,
Yeah, that's normally what we would
yeah, and I'll
do.
review it before it's recorded.
okay,
As previously noted, the entire, this is for C. The entire width of 222 Ferry Road, which is surface stretched out to the edge of Ferry Road pavement, is proposed to be used for vehicle and trailer parking, and during the off-season for both vehicle storage. We recognize, as pointed out, this is an operating boatyard with different legal use, et cetera. My client, he recommended islands, landscaped islands. He showed the trees, but we're more than happy to put in landscaped islands. We just want to know where and how we would like them. You know, and that could be a condition of approval too. There was 6 foot wide, 8 foot wide, at the end, adjacent to, Ferry Road.
They are spelled out in Mr. Jacobson's letter. Okay, and item number, was it 4C? In section 53 and also in section 63.3.1 of the requirements.
Yeah.
And that's what this associate, or this.
Well, we'll be more than happy to put them in. But again, this is kind of a weird right of way. You know, normally you would put them either in front of or behind the right of way. Well, this right of way is over 60 feet wide in spots. And do you want them all the way up to the corner, or do you want to just stop in front of the boatyard? You know, west of the easement.
They would be on the ferry's property.
So you would want it all the way up to opposite, see, this is technically 7 Essex Road, which is right here. That's their frontage. This is 230 Ferry Road, which is kind of funky frontage here. So we would probably stop it in here someplace, put one here and then put the other ones here.
Well, we can condition it as an approval, but we
Yeah.
would need to see from you a written.
Be more than happy to
The
provide.
commission's looking for actual trees, right? So,
Yes, it's
And I-
spelled out.
Show the trees, yes.
And 3.5 count
Yes.
for trees, okay?
we got power lines that are going right there, so I don't know.
Those power lines are quite high,
Alright,
right? So I don't think that.
Well, we have to talk to Eversource about that.
yeah, I mean, I, in my experience dealing with
You're
Eversource.
encumbering Eversource's easement. And a lot of times they're not particularly happy about things like that, so,
Bring that to us if that's the case.
yeah.
Are we talking about the 25-foot landscape portion that's required in the front, or are we talking about islands?
We're
No,
talking
we're
about
talking
the
about the front
landscape
of Ferry
at the
Road.
front of road with the sidewalk.
Okay,
Yeah, we can work that out, but just understand that we would have to get something from Eversource because we may be encumbering their easement.
We can get that. I can tell you Eversource, they're gonna tell you absolutely no, not. They won't allow anything to grow into their power lines. I've got experience with that.
If you,
We'll bring it back.
if you make the written request and you get a written response, that needs to come to the
Okay,
land use
I'd
department.
be more than happy to. Be more than happy to, and we can make that a condition of approval. Zoning regulations require all non-paved parking spaces to be delineated with concrete wheel stops. One of the members of the commission last week,
I'm not sure if we finished, that subject, okay, because we also were talking about the 25-foot, width on the frontage. Was there some question that you still had?
no. We're all, I'm pretty,
Okay.
we're pretty much all set. We know what we have to
Commission
do.
members may have some comments about that when we get into that.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
That's fine. 4D, wheel stops. We had talked about this last time. I've shown wheel stops against the office parking spaces and against the, south property line. They can be put in very easily and they don't impact the use of the yard. Wheel stops up in the top or in the yard itself are an extremely position. And so we're asking that be waived. I mean, it's an operating marina and there's no way to put them in and take them out.
How many wheel stops are you putting in?
9, 15. Along, this is the, This is the office parking lot.
Right.
And this is the south property line. So wheel stops can go in there and here very easily.
Total of,
I'm sorry,
for a total of?
9 to 15. But in the field, in the yard field, it's almost impossible to put in functioning wheel stops that don't impact the operation of the yard.
So you would rather do what?
We paint, like we do in almost all of the yards, we paint the gravel lines every year.
Okay, and you use paint or you use lime?
Use marking paint.
Okay.
They
So
have
that-
traffic marking paint.
So by the time you hit August in the season, probably some of them won't be worn.
But we have a seasonal staff that would maintain that.
Okay.
Like I said, we do this in,
Okay.
the one I can think of is, there's a number of yards that I work in and those lines are there all year.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
I-
It's just, we gotta be able to move boats around. It's part, you know, part of the business.
Okay, please continue.
As previously noted, the pedestrian access across from the upper parking area at 222, you'd have to walk down the paved vehicular access drive. 4F comment's been addressed. Number 5, as previously noted, while the property is located within the Gateway Conservation Zone where 100-foot riparian buffer is required to be maintained, virtually the entire site would be classified as developed areas. That would generally make replacement of vegetation impractical. Number 6, the applicant's engineer has advised that the on-site soils consist of ledge and a mix of poorly trained fill material that is not suitable for an infiltration system. As such, retaining and infiltrating at least 50% of the water quality volume on this site is not feasible. Jeff Jacobson and I talked about that at length, and it's just not, there's no way I can get it to go. Number 7, comment addressed. And number 8, while commission signature block has been added to the drawings since Old Saybrook is separate planning and zoning commissions, the text should be revised to conform with the specified in section 51-6 4B8, parentheses 5 of the zoning regulations.
So your updated set currently doesn't have a signature block.
It had, Chris Costa told me to put a line and a note. That's what she told me to put. So yes, it does have a signature, but it's not the one that he wants. And so I called Chris back again to see if she can send me one.
Did she?
No, she's on vacation.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
So I'll call her. I don't know when she's coming back, so I'll call sometime this week.
Next week. She'll be back next week.
So that could be a condition of approval also. That's why I said before, with the exception of the islands and the landscaping, all the other stuff is just, it's touchy feely.
What else do you have? Comment on?
That's it.
That's it.
Those were Jeff's comments and those, everything else we addressed.
I invite back general comment to the commission, and this is an area of town, in my opinion, that is in desperate need of, a refresh, and that's what we're looking to do. Obviously, this building where it is, it's not really a sight line from the road. We're having what we can to please the commission and up, on the road, really beautify the area. It's beneficial to us as a business owner to kind of brighten up that area of town. It needs it, so.
Thank you. Commissioners have questions? Casey?
And it's partly a question for the commission, because I haven't been on here that long. The front landscaped area, the 25-foot front landscaped area, my read of the reg is that that's required to be internal on the private property, that's a 25-foot width back from the front property. Is that correct? So that what I'm getting at is that the utility poles are on the public property. The utility poles are within the public right of way. So that's a separate issue, I think, than having 25 feet back of landscaping from the front property. But I'm not sure that I'm reading it correctly.
You are,
And I understand, I think Jacobson's comment is that part of this front property line is really far back from the way the property jogs. It's
Correct.
really far back from the road.
Correct.
So it's a little bit of it sort of is an excessive requirement to this applicant because they're so far back from the road. So we're talking about how to how to do that, but what I'm seeing is that we still have a couple of parking spaces that maybe are crossing that property line or are close to crossing that property line. And I'm just wondering if we can find some middle ground to get a little bit more landscaping in the front.
And the director of public. To ensure,
We lost
we lost,
internet.
are we back?
Yeah.
Okay. To ensure that the sidewalk is laid out in an acceptable location and alignment, and I think that addresses your question.
That and that I think he references the section 63.3.1. Oh, I just saw it.
And that's what Jason's saying, meet with them.
Right, but
Oh, yeah, we're in perfect agreement with that.
I'm talking more about the front. Oh, here we go, towards the end of comment, towards the sake of sin. In addition, section 63.3.1 in the zoning regulations requires a landscape area along the street width. And my reading of that reg is that, and my experience is that usually what it means is 25 feet on your property. Has to be the front 25 feet on your property.
Normally, it's 25 feet from the center line of the
Right.
road, and so that's what I think he's talking about, because to put the landscaping back here doesn't do you anything. I think what he's talking about.
Storage tank, which matches the detail. This is their installation manual and operating guidelines. So there are references on this that the contractor has to follow those specs in there to install it. And then that the owner has to follow those specs to maintain it in the future. It is, unless there's a problem, it is leak proof. But they're probably within the condo docs. Ed would know more about that, but there would be maintenance on that to check the level every so often and make sure that was always topped off.
Oh, yeah.
Also for the fire access lane that I pointed out before to go in front of the northeast 6 units. We worked out this last time, these were on the plan last time too. But there are pavement markings, red pavement markings, and then also signs in case we have a little bit of snow like we've gotten recently. Covering the pavement, we also have signs that no parking behind this point, that it's a fire access lane, so if what they didn't want is, folks parking in front of the building and then blocking that lane, so that's all signed and pavement is painted as well. And those are pavers, so it's not asphalt, so it looks like it's a driveway with the textural change there. So we have the striping and the signage, and then we have the paver that looks more like a front patio or walkway versus somewhere where you could drive. All right. So that covers all the stormwater, all the utilities, as far as the zoning, like Ed mentioned, as far as coverage and dimensional setbacks. This is 8-30G, so those don't apply. Where we were able to, as far as setbacks and so forth, we applied all of those to this, so we're not right up against the property line anywhere. We tried to comply with the underlying zoning regulations as much as possible. The landscaping, there is a plan on here, like together with the site plan. So it's this plan here. You can see the street trees across the front. Those are shaded in green. There's a planting schedule in the bottom left-hand corner there. In front of the units, there are other ornamental trees. We do have some evergreens around the border. We had more arborvitaes around the border before. The neighbors were more in favor of a solid privacy fence versus the arborvitae. So we've replaced all of the fence on the south side completely with a 6-foot-high solid privacy fence. On the north side, even though we do have some arborvitaes there, there's a 6-foot fence across that side as well. And then along the eastern side, since there is a view of a quarry pond down to the east, we didn't want to block potential views from residents looking down in that direction. So that is a 6-foot high pole fence, with the 4 or 5 inch gaps, so that way you can see through it, but it still provides the protection from trespassing or from people moving in that direction off the property. This yellow shaded area or beige shaded area in the northeast corner, that's kind of a community area where there might be a couple of benches looking out into that area, potentially playground equipment that hasn't really been figured out. But that area is identified as like community gathering space. Other than the patios that have privacy dividers in between them, behind every single unit, there's a private patio. But if they wanted to gather together, they're able to in that specific. As far as lighting hasn't changed either. On that same plan shaded in yellow, you could see all the building mounted lighting or post lighting that we had proposed previously. Again, that hasn't changed. There was a photometrics plan and that went wholly through ARB. I'm not sure if Ed mentioned before, this went back through ARB and planning, and we've seen favorable recommendations from both for the lighting, landscaping and architecture on the site. So with that, I think that covered most of the bases. The last thing I wanted to go over with is the end of last week. I just received in the mail today, but we did receive an email from Jeff Jacobson's office last Thursday or Friday, I think it was. So we moved on this today so we could bring this to you tonight. And I have some copies of our responses to those comments. And I could just take a couple of minutes and just go through those changes so you can see what we did in response to Jeff's comments. So the first comment was just a statement, so there was no response necessary. The second comment had to do with the fire water storage tank. We already talked quite a bit about that, but back to page 3, the fire water storage tank. Most of his few comments here have to deal with the type of the tank that was being proposed. And again, the tank before had its own draw and had a sump pit in it, a different tank. This doesn't have a sump, it doesn't have its own draw. It's simply a 30,000 gallon reservoir and we're pulling in from the bottom as I had shown before. So that resolves most of it, but I'll just go through them one by one. So the first one is just to show the piping from the tank to the dry hydrants. Of course, they're going to be connected. But on the utility and grading plan from the dry hydrant locations, we show a line with FM, meaning fire main, right to that end of the tank where the draw would be, and then going to the other dry hydrant as well. So we've included that. The storage tank detail, as I just went through, he wanted the different detail that was more in conjunction with the town public improvement standards. So we actually just today from the company out on the West Coast, we got these updated details and included those here, and you can see that they're fully applicable. There's a manhole, a manway that comes to the surface of the pavement with a ladder down. So it can be inspected for level, or if it's empty, it could be inspected internally if it needed to be. Provides that, and then the drains come off the bottom of the tank and go to the dry hydrants, and it shows the detail for that as well. Again, the detail on sheet 7 of 11, that's just where we were, has been replaced. We've also added notes based on Jeff's comments, 2 notes, and we repeated them on both details so it couldn't be missed. And number 1 says the contractor shall ensure that the tank is installed in accordance with all manufacturer code specifications and with section 150 of the old Saybrook regulations for public improvements. including standard drawings 26 to 29, and that's exactly what we had said in his letter. Number 2 says all tank piping, risers, and access manholes to grade shall be H20 load rated. The detail did say H20 load rated, even the old one may have been missed, but this is all made to be under an asphalt drivable surface. You can see that kind of shows here, and then you can see the H20 load rating there, meaning that it's able to sustain loads from traffic above it. D is, I already preempted that one. It's about the H20 load rating and storage tank, and I just pointed out that it is, of course. Number 3, go back to sheet, I think 3 is probably the best one. Sheet 1. This is the best one here, so minor revision here. It says there was a call out for the fence. So graphically, we showed the fence on this northern edge, but there wasn't a clear call out to that fence, so we added that call out with the length and the type of the fence. So here we have 294 feet, more or less, a 6-foot high solid privacy fence along that north side. Number 4, this area here for the fire access lane that we talked about before. That previously was just a 5-foot wide sidewalk. It was like an extension of this walk right here all the way through. So we modified that note to say H20 pervious paver drive. And we provided detail there. Again, with the H20, it's made to handle traffic. Number 5, we have a dumpster enclosure here on the north central part of the site. On that detail sheet, we have a detail of that. It's there, the sheet 6 of 11, bottom left. We have that dumpster enclosure detail there. The dimensions there didn't match the dimensions on the plan, so we just matched the dimensions. It is, I believe it's 9 by 18. Yeah, 18 by 9, so both the detail and the plan match now. Number 6, really the only catch basin in the parking lot area is located in the northeast corner. And because we shifted the dumpster, if any of you recall the application from last year, the dumpster was more centrally located in the site. There was a request to shift that away to that northern property line, which we did. And in doing that, shifting the parking down, the location of that catch basin had to get back into that new corner of the parking lot, which we modified. And on the utility plan, you can see it's in that northeast corner of the parking lot as well. We're just off by Number 7 had to deal with the ornamental trees, and that was on sheet 1 of 11 again. So these ornamental trees there are 4 in front of this building, 3 in front of this building. The table says 7 of those type of trees. The call out said 6. We changed it to 7. Number 8 is just about the DOT. We know that we're on a state road. We can't apply to the DOT until we have a town approval. That needs to go in DOT at the same time. We did meet DOT out there. We know we have sight lines. They've already provided some preliminary comments regarding the wells. They require a certain amount of steel casing on the wells, if it's within 75 feet of the state road. So we've incorporated that on there too, just to preempt their comment from people. But so we think that the project was well thought out previously. Now with this extra information that was requested last time, providing that information, we feel that we really left nothing unturned in this application. So if you have any questions or comments, we certainly could try to answer those.
I just want the record to note that we went back online at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions? Derek?
I just have 2 for clarification. I'll just ask them both at the same time and then we can tackle. what is is there any concerns or things that need to be discussed, or at least for clarification purpose, I guess the back 20 feet or so lie within the Connecticut Gateway Conservation Zone? I'm just wondering if there's any impact that we need to consider or should be considered. And then the only other question I have right now is on the next page is for the Tooker's property, there's a very subtle egress onto their well protective radius, and I wanted to know if there was something to be concerned or considered with that. Please.
So I'll handle the well one as you talked about gateway. So for the well, no, there's no point source of pollution. We're not allowed to put any source of pollution within that 75-foot radius circle, as you're well aware of. And over in this location, that thin area in the northeast corner of the property, there is nothing proposed that would be considered a source of pollution.
Yeah, and although this is in the gateway zone, because it's very remote from the river and there's no chance at all because of the topography. There's a disconnection from a view perspective, so I don't think Gateway's ever had any comments on this, or if they did, it was, we don't have comments. And obviously Joe's engineered this site from a stormwater perspective, so there's no impact on their stormwater function. No view, no stormwater issues. Gateway doesn't have a concern.
And then, sorry, one more question. There is a road back there that I'm assuming BNL uses.
That's their property.
And is there any concern? I know you said the 5-foot fence there for some visual.
6 foot.
6 foot full fence.
Is there any other concerns with regards to heavy equipment going back and forth there to the property?
No, and there are statements, and because some concern from that contractor of last application, there are some statements, I believe, in the condo docs, right? Just notifying that the residents who choose to live here, that behind them to the east and to the north is a active construction quarry, just so they're aware of that. So they choose to live there. There could be noise at different times of the times of the day, and that's in there for full disclosure.
Yeah, Gibson's waiver.
Well, I just had some questions about the wells, just the well reports. There's 4 reports, 2 for each well, and they have different dates, but all 4 samples were taken at the exact same date and time. And they're a little different. I was just wondering why, but also more importantly, that there's all 4 of them, there's no testing for E. coli.
So Tony probably could best answer that because he was more closely involved with the drilling of those wells, so I'll let him say that, but I do know it's a normal part of the process that they let the well kind of flush and replenish itself, so they'll do a test at one point and then come back at a different time, to take another
But they
test and
didn't.
check.
They're both for August 15th at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
The reports have different dates, but the samples were taken at the exact same time.
Yeah, so I don't know, again, with the laboratory samples, I don't know if there's like residual time, I'm not sure, Tony could answer that, I'm not a well water scientist.
Yeah.
Well, the wells were drilled
Yeah.
within 2 days of each other.
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's 2 reports for each well, and I thought they'd be taken at different times, but the samples were taken at the exact same date and time. So I didn't know why the 2 reports were a little bit different. And there's 1 line for E. coli, there can't be any E. coli, but the line is blank for the findings on all 4 reports. I just think you need an MD not determined for E. coli.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see what you're saying. They're dated, one is dated August 19th and one is dated August 25th. But on date and time of sampling, they're both exactly the same. So I don't
They were
really
both
know.
dropped off at the same time in Old Saybrook.
But there was 4 tests, 2 on
Oh.
2 on 1 and 2 on 2, and all 4
No,
were
there
done the
was,
same.
there was a draw on the same day on both wells and dropped off to the lab.
Yeah.
How they did their thing, it's not up to us.
But there's 2 different reports that have slightly different findings. And there's no finding for E. coli on any of the 4.
They might,
have slightly different findings, but they're all acceptable.
Oh, yeah, they're all well under the maximum, but
Right.
it was just, it's more the E. coli, it was just.
I'm not sure if they test a brand new well for E. coli, because there's no way of having E. coli intrusion. Usually that's if some organic matter falls in and deteriorates, and then that's usually how you generate E. coli. I'm not sure how you get that.
Okay, it's on the form and it's fine, so I was just.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's on the form and it's flagged, they may not test for it because it's typical in the wells. I mean, I'm sure they can retest the sample or grab another sample and test for
We
that.
just clarified in one example.
You wouldn't be allowed to occupy those units if it did pass a well.
Could we get an answer as to whether they are required or not required for the E. coli, the test? One of the
At the health department, they didn't get it.
Pretty sure it's required.
Right, so they're gonna do a test.
Well, they did some
The water could come out brown, but if it passes Connecticut law.
But it's
You don't
showing
wanna
that,
drink it probably because it doesn't look good, but it passes Connecticut law. The health department passed it 100%.
Ed, do we have a copy of that?
Yeah, it's in this packets. It's in that
came out at
big clip.
4 o'clock today.
No,
No, it's-
no, these were in the
No, that
original
would be
submission.
up for- okay.
Yeah,
I gotta have it retested.
No, I'm not asking for retested, all I'm asking for clarifying Robin's question is E. coli required as part of the
I
test or
don't know
not?
the exact test.
Or you,
By the state requires.
You can ask that question, correct?
The labs know what to test for. We could ask the lab to test for more stuff. No.
I understand that, but if there's a line on the sheet that says E. coli and there's no measurement, is it something that doesn't have to be measured? Or it does have, it'd be a simple question to ask.
Whole Saybrook lab been testing my stuff for about
Can you ask
30
for
years.
that?
yeah, we can ask the lab.
Maybe they
Thank you.
revise the report.
Yeah, we can ask them.
My guess is my experience with those things, if it's blank and it doesn't say non-detected or ND, that it wasn't required. for
Right,
that.
might very well be, but it would, in this case, I think it would be helpful
Legitimate question, yeah.
Yeah.
to get an.
And again, they wouldn't be able to occupy a unit without it, with that water.
Where is the data about the flow rate? The water available from the 3 wells that we dug, because I remember from the last meetings regarding anything when there was a lot of concerns from the neighbors, yeah.
Yeah.
Citing well water for this development.
So, yeah, and so we did and provided in these materials information about the neighboring wells. 4 of the neighboring wells are deep wells, 200-300 feet deep. One is a shallow well. Okay, so the one that's a shallow well, we're not really in the same arena they are. Because we're going down 200 to 300 into bedrock, hitting aquifers, shallow wells hitting groundwater. Okay, so the shallow well is what it is. We're not affecting them. We're not taking the same water that they have. So if they have problems, it's because they have a shallow well. So the other 4, and there's documentation in here, 810 Middlesex dug a well within the last 10 years, 60 gallons per minute. That's like oil coming out of the hole. Like that's more water, much more water than you could ever use, and you'd have to restrict it. They have to restrict it down to 10 gallons a minute if they wanted
So
to.
60 gallons a minute is like 84,000 gallons a day.
Yeah, which is 150 gallons a day per bedroom. We put that in context. So that's a lot of water. 924 Middlesex Turnpike, just to the north, beyond, is 15 gallons per minute. This is all previous records that are available at the health department. 816 Middlesex Turnpike, just to the south, 18 gallons a minute. And 30 gallons a minute and 12 gallons a minute on the 2 wells that were just dug. So these wells there's a lot of water in this area. And I think that's part of what we've tried to demonstrate is not only is there an aquifer protection area where Connecticut Water gets its water from right to the south, but this is also designated as an aquifer area from the state of Connecticut. So we've dug, this is actually the 3rd well. There's been 3 wells dug on this property in the last 5-10 years on this property. And they're all satisfactory. So one of the things we did to try to eliminate the potential concern, first is a report from Waterboy that says if one of these wells goes down, the other well is sufficient to carry the development. because of the gallons per day. So that's in here. And secondly, we've built into the condo docs a well reserve so that the condominium association has to build up a reserve fund to be able to dig more wells if these fail. And Joe's put the location of those potential reserve wells on the plan. 816 Middlesex Turnpike was dug 50 years ago. And that's still flowing from what we can tell based upon, again, health department records. So we don't think there's going to ever be a problem with water just because they're in a fortunate location where there's a lot of water. So yes, there was question about shallow wells in particular, but we're not tapping into the same water that shallow wells.
And on the plans, did you, designate how deep these wells are, the deep wells?
That's all in the health department.
Yeah, how deep are they, do you know?
They were 300 and something of feet. It should be that. With the restriction, each well produces 14,000 gallons a day per well. The apartments only need 1,600 gallons, 1,650 to be exact, per day. With a storage tank inside each house, just a storage tank alone could take care of them for the day if there was a problem. So the wells produce at the restriction because of being near the septic system, that Joe's better off with that than I am. The wells produce 8 times the necessary water per day per well. One well can handle 4 times the amount that both buildings together. And I have redundancy because of 2 wells, and I have cross connections. If one was to go down for the day and needed some maintenance, the other one could take over, could supply it, and still have 4 times the amount. Plus, each one has a 1,600 gallon storage tank inside the building. You need to maintain it or do something for the day, you have plenty of water. Connecticut's 75 gallons per day per person. That's watering your lawn, washing your car, I don't know, doing everything. That's the state of Connecticut.
On page 1 of the water boy report, it says what kind of mirrors what Tony was just saying. Anticipated population of 22 persons, that's 75 gallons a day per person, to 1,650 gallons a day. The safe yield of 12,960 gallons per day greatly exceeds the 1,650 estimated demand. And also the invoices in here for the well drilling are there, and one looks like it's 310 feet deep, the other one 410 feet.
It produces more water than necessary, but we gotta restrict them because they're next to a septic system.
Yeah, they have to be restricted to 10 gallons per minute. Otherwise you have to expand the 75-foot radius to 150 feet. And so, but the development doesn't even use 10 gallons per minute. So there's no way they could draw that much, but there are flow restriction valves on the well so that much water can never be pulled from one. But even 10 gallons a minute is 14,000 gallons a day per well. We only need the 1,650. I don't know if that's per building or not, but even if you double that, 33, say 5,000 gallons, it's producing triple of what's necessary.
Other questions? I have a couple. It appears that they're missing details on the proposed retaining wall on the prints that I had to work with. Are they on the print that you submitted this evening?
No, it's I think the height is only 30 inches and it's just a landscape block wall. Typically, for something that low that doesn't require structural engineering, we don't have the detail for it, but most of, you can picture what a landscape block wall about that tall looks like, or we can give you a detail for it.
I think it would be beneficial if we could get the detail on that.
Yeah, that's fine. That side only faces the quarry. And on the quarry side, it has a huge amount of dirt that's been there for years. So no one's seeing it, but not opposed to just finding a small detail.
Okay. And, I couldn't really tell from the prints that the grading was detailed.
All the grading is on there. Jeff Jacobson reviewed that. Didn't have any questions related to the grading at all. There's a lot going on in the plan. We color coded everything. Reserve areas are orange, septic items are green, drainage items are blue, building items are brown, and then the fence is in purple. So we tried to make it as clear as possible, but again, there's a lot going on, but all the contours are on here, solid lines, and all the numbers are labeled. It's a fairly flat site, but all of the grading is on there. There's spot grades and contours.
And you mentioned against the fence, I'm not sure what side it is, but against the B&L property there, there's a open space.
No, only the east side is open, it's an open pool fence just to
Okay.
gain the view through to the quarry pond down below. All the rest of the fence along the north side and the entire south side is all 6-foot solid privacy.
So, on the south side and such, any headlight glare or anything would be blocked by the Saskar. And I believe we spoke at the last, but there was discussion on the video, because I wasn't at the meeting back in June, that the, other fence there along this, is that the eastern side?
This
Right
side?
there? Yeah.
Yep.
And the northern side would also be stockade.
On the eastern side, so yes, they wanted fence rather than just the arborvitae
Right.
along
Right.
the quarry side on the north. The east, we had a split rail fence, but there was some discussion of having something more of a barrier, so no one could go either to the east or to the west in that area.
Right.
So now we have the 6-foot high pool fence that no one can get through, tied into the solid fence on the corner. So for safety reasons or trespass reasons,
How far away is the quarry pond from that fence?
I don't know specifically, but a few hundred feet.
Yeah, I would say, even the street that the other gentleman had a concern about, that street is about 30 to 40, you can't see the truck. You have to be like right at the edge to see him go. I
Yeah,
live there.
it's not like a cliff with the pond right below. The pond's way over.
The road is way below down there.
So you have some distance, then you have the road, and then on the other side, it's the pond. So it's pulling it up now, but.
Yeah, I would say probably 150, 200 feet. The pond, with the road in between.
The type of fence that you're proposing there has open spaces, correct? Is do you know what the width of the open space is?
I think the code is 4 inches, so it was meet that code. It's the full safety. It's just 6 feet high rather than this.
And you don't want 6 feet on 7 foot, because it was
It said up, used to say up to
up to
7
7
feet.
foot.
So we had 7-foot max, but Jeff Jacobson wanted us to change that to be more specific, so it didn't end up being 4 feet. If you have 7-foot max, we just put 6-foot privacy fence up there.
Just the road based upon GIS from the property line is 120 feet, 125 feet
To the road.
to the road. The pond is 150 feet.
To the edge, to the western edge of the pond.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We have the architectural, we submitted them. I don't know if you want me to just run through them.
Please.
We don't have paper copies, but now that we're back online, I can do it.
Okay.
These haven't changed. So. So they're up on the screen here. So these are the 2 well houses, that are going to be constructed to the north and south of the driveway. Just small 10 by 10 foot buildings to fit the well pumps and, the development side. Down below here is the, appliance repair store that it's actually been modified, so we drive by it now and it looks like this. So he redid the front facade, updated the materials. The architects plans, show, two different buildings. So this is the first building on the, southern side, with 5 garages. This is the front, with gables. These are again, all townhouse units, so they go completely up and down. The rear, one of the comments at the last application in 2025 was ARB wanted us to add these gable ends on the rear of the building as not just the front, the rear, to increase the, the aesthetic when you're driving down the road heading north on 154. So that's been done. And then here's the second building. So this is the back building, looking at, again, kind of facing to the north. And then the back side as well, you can see they all have sliders down to, what are those, patios? Patios in the rear, both buildings have that, they have outdoor space. So that's the architecture for the project.
Okay. Everyone got first floor master.
3, 4, 12 masters.
Anything else?
I don't think so. One thing I picked up on today that I noted we don't have is in the condo docs. We'll need to add a line item for the fire tank inspection, so I can do that. Okay. So I did pick up on that during the discussion, made a note.
Since this is a public hearing, anyone in the audience or online that wishes to speak for or against, we'll start in the audience. Please identify yourself if you would.
My name's Dorothy Spada, SPADA. I live at 816 Middlesex Turnpike.
SP,
ADA.
ADA. We live in the home. I was sorry, the south, the south, 816. We live next to the Beaches Alliance, which I understand I don't see in your plans, but I have been informed by many people there's gonna be an apartment in there, so that might need to be included at some point if that's happening. So it would be another. I have a number of concerns, and I know I voiced them the last time, but I'll read this digest further. One is I do appreciate all the information about the wells and the water, but I'm gonna be honest, as a neighbor, I'm still concerned. Between a lot of septic and a lot of water, I am not an engineer, I know that. But you're adding 24 to plus people in there, that's a lot of, it's concerning as a neighbor. Our home has been there 195 years, it's been a residential home. So it's been a lot of development around us, the people, our neighbor behind us, they've been there close to a century. If not more. Yeah. Your family. Yes, there. So, it's concern for us. And we do appreciate that you guys went back and gave us that information, but it's still scary. You're adding a lot of people. One of my biggest fears, and I'm gonna be very honest about this, is the fire. There was a fire today in Clinton. I don't know if you saw that in an apartment complex. I think it's called doesn't matter what it's called. And there was some trouble because it's crowded in there, the number of cars. Those things scare me as a neighbor. You're adding 24 to 30 more cars. We live next to, must be 40 plus cars next to us in the lot. You add that and then you put the 25 on the other side of us, it's scary. That's a lot of things can happen. I know some people think maybe we're overreacting, but these are real fears. The lighting is a concern for us too. There's still a light that shines into our bedroom. And you're gonna add all those other lights. Are we gonna be living next to a football field? That's a concern. Traffic is a large concern for me. There are days that I leave at a busy time. It can take me over 5 minutes to have to get out. Right now, there's a mound in the Beaches parking lot that I have to pull onto 154 to see to get out safely, and it's scary there because people don't go the speed limit on 154. So you're gonna add 24 to plus more cars, and most people work the busy times. So that's scary, for us. That's it for now, but those are concerns, they're real for us neighbors. It's a very small area to add that many apartments. Not apartments, I'm sorry, structures. That's a lot of, that's, you know, the house behind us, she's gonna be encumbered by it. She's almost part of the development, if you look at it. That's a lot of people to all of a sudden live next door to. It's a lot of people, it's a lot of cars, it's a lot of traffic. So those are our concerns. I know that this is the HD. I always screw up the bill. I understand that, but I just want, you know, as long-term, you know, Old Saybrook residents, these are concerns for us. This is our home. This is where we've lived. This is where our families lived for that, you know, century. So we just.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Louis Spada, SPADA. With two concerns, if there's a fire in the building in there, there's very congested area to try to get a truck in and 20 people trying to get out of there at the same time. It's just what was brought up in the last meeting, the gentleman since retired about it, and it just didn't seem feasible to try to get trucks in there. And you got 10, 15 cars trying to get out, or even the people trying to get out. You know, you may have walkways and everything, but if you ever get around people that are in a panic state, it don't happen that way. Also, he brought up that 30,000 gallons sounds like a lot of water when it's sitting underground. But if you have 3 trucks pumping that water at a 6-inch at a time, or not, 6 inches at a time from 2 different tanks, it goes quick. I'm a commercial fisherman, I clam for a living. I pump thousands and thousands of gallons through a clam dredge. It goes quick. And that's not with a lot of pressure. Now you had 3 trucks running high pressure. The gentleman had said only lasts a half hour. Now we see fires everywhere. And the gentleman they had last time said, well, the new attitude the fire department has is just save the stuff around it, let the apartment burn. We can't believe in that. Every time you turn on the news, you're gonna put a fire out to the very end. So what do you do when you run out of fire? Now you gotta run tankers over? Hopefully you got water close. Last time that was a big concern. We only have that little pond up the street. Once you get 2 or 3 trucks in there, it's gone. What happens if it's more than one building? Or not one building, what if it's more than one unit involved? And you got 6 units or whatever it is in one building. What happens if it's spread through 2? So you tell the other people on the other side, well, the hell with you, you know, we can't put the fire out. We don't have enough water. I don't understand. Sometimes it feels like this situation over there is that like we keep throwing spaghetti against the wall, hopefully we'll get it to stick. There was definite concerns last time about the fire and stuff like that, getting the apparatus in there. They move this, they move that, but you're still relying on people. And people don't always follow the rules. And that one day, you have somebody park in a bad spot, or the fire, or the snow like we got. We get a blizzard, they push the snow. It's a once in a lifetime storm maybe. But if it isn't, the guy goes in, pushes the snow, and doesn't realize that he can't block that section. Now what happens? You got all the cars in there. You got everybody in there. And you have a fire. And you got the firemen going in there risking their lives. They try to do something. So the whole thing is the area. You know, you only got so much area. And we're trying to cram all this into an 1.25 acres. Where before they wouldn't even put a house in there. You know what I mean? You get all those people trying to get out on the road, trying to do all that. I just don't understand why, you know, we're putting a unit that big there. You know, just a concern about it. I mean, we got it all figured out on paper. Well, let's face it, what happens on paper? It stays on paper. Doesn't go into real life sometimes. So, that's my view. But it's safety.
Thank you. Attorney Casella, do you wish to?
Wait.
Or do you gonna wait to the end? Something? Yes.
My name is Meredith Devani. I'm representing my grandmother, Madeline Tooker, who's 836 Middlesex Avenue.
Can you spell your last name?
Sure, D as in Delta, E as in Echo, V as in Victor, Anney. I appreciate all the due diligence, all the extra information you guys have provided this time. I thank everyone for their time. We've been here before. Lou got up in front of me, but I have a big concern about the snow banks. We saw this, it was less than 10 years ago, we saw this amount of snow. All that snow right now, the only place I can see feasible to put it is in that turnaround spot, and as well as back down on the southeast, right now where you have the fire trucks as a staging. That also puts the snow in the protected well radius with the salt and things as you mentioned. You know, the snow hits, it's hard to predict. It makes maneuverability hard. Like Lou said it, he beat me to it, but, you know, on paper it looks great, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're trying to do it. Those are the big concerns there. It's a dense development for the piece of property that it is. We're really struggling as neighbors to have this effect in the fire. Just it burns out of control. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone online that wishes to speak? No. Anyone else in the audience? Any other questions?
Yeah.
Attorney Casella, would you like to?
Yeah, and I think we spent a lot of time talking about this at previous meetings and at this meeting, but these are townhouse design. So from a fire code perspective, these are single family houses. Because they have and are required to be built with 2-hour firewalls that prevents fire from going from one unit to the next. The bottom line here is that the fire department, from an operational perspective, has no issues with this plan. They're the professionals who deal with fires, who want to know where they can be, where they can't be. We'll have Joe talk about the snow shelves in a minute. But you know, these are speculative concerns, and 30,000 gallon tank, we don't even think is required for this development because there's no public improvements, but it's being included as part of the plan to eliminate any question that there could feasibly be a safety concern. If they need water, they will go get water. They will have it here, they have it at hydrants, they have the pond in the back that they can access, they have the pond on Monk Road, Deep River has water, Essex has water, Westbrook has water, everybody has water. There will be water on the property to be able to fight the fires within the time period, the 2-hour window, to make sure that it doesn't go from one building to the next. So
That didn't work in Otter Cove, and that fire happened a year ago, 2 years.
these are brand new construction, constructed the state-of-the-art fire rating. So, you know, these are completely speculative concerns. The fire department is the one that doesn't have any problems with it. The fire department doesn't have any problems with it. Neither should you. So I think that's an important thing. Joe can talk about where snow can go, because we all know what the snowbanks are looking like these days.
The fire department didn't only agree with this plan, they came up with this plan.
Right.
We met with them, we met with the chief several times. The fire marshal here, if you remember from last time, doesn't have purview in this case because these are all townhomes and they have firewalls in between, so they're treated like single family homes. They happen to be together, they have firewalls in between. 2026 fire code is a lot different than 2000 fire code or 1980 fire code. The house in Otter Cove, they didn't have 30,000 gallons of water. They had to truck everything in. There's no hydrant there. There's no underground storage tank there. in this area with all these hose loops and everything that we show, this plan that was devised by Chief Johnson will get him with, of course, factor of safety, will get him where he needs to be. Now, yes, every 10 years or so, we have a blizzard. We have a lot of areas that we have to pile snow. In Ed's condo documents, they are going to be charged with hiring a snow removal contractor that clears everything safely, all the walkways, all the driveways, all the parking areas, and all the fire access lanes, right? That has to be in there and he has to follow that. It's on his insurance, so of course, they will do that because it's on their insurance. As far as snow removal areas with the different spaces on the site, anywhere all up against the fences, it could be behind Beach Appliance, it could be behind the southwestern building over in this area. It could be all in this 20-foot wide area, the width of the property in the back on the eastern side areas, they could pile snow. Over the backyards, if they had to, depending on, if we had 3 feet like Providence, you need to be creative and find areas all around the house, all in the front landscape areas, there and all around the parking spaces. And then if it becomes too much, like I own a couple of commercial properties in town, we need every single parking space we can get. So if it gets to be too much, like I had to do, I had to pay extra for them to come in after the storm and remove extra snow from the site. So there are things that can be done and temporarily, store it back here. And if you get another storm, you remove it off site. It's just, you have to do what you have to do. And the condo documents will have to be followed for everybody's insurance plan, and it will have to be cleared appropriately for the snow removal company's insurance. So with all of those, and again, it's not some wishy-washy plan that we devise. I'm not a firefighter, and I don't drive a fire truck. So we went to the source, the person that does fight fires in town, knows about water issues in certain parts of town, does drive a fire truck, knows how to devise a fire safety plan like this, and came up with this plan that he feels safe to say, yes, my stamp of approval on this plan with that tank, with the 2 hydrants where I asked you to put them, with all these turning areas, with the drive in front of 5 of these 6 units, with 150-foot hose poles all around the building. I am confident that we can fight this fire and be completely safe with it. As far as spreading unit to unit with the firewalls in between, again, they're like single family homes. So for the first 2 hours minimum, if one is burning, it's designed so it doesn't spread extensively into the second one. And within that 2-hour window, you would hope within 10 minutes that fire apparatus is on site fighting the fire, and it would never go with the water they have on a 1,500 square foot unit. It would never last for 12 hours and continue to spread through the building if it was accessible. And 30,000 gallon tank, that meets code we don't even believe that code applies to this site. The way that it's in regulations and your subdivision regulations is when you subdivide land and you create multiple lots, these size tanks, 30,000 gallon tanks, are required every 2,000 feet. And in your rural zones, you have 200 feet of frontage. So what is that? That's 10 houses on one side, 10 houses on the other side. So you have 10 large houses on one side of the street, 10 other large houses on the other side of the street, and you have one tank. We have one tank for these small 1,500 square foot condos, but those large houses were equivalent of 3 of these 4,500 square feet. We only have 4 of those houses on here, with, even if you say the other 2 buildings, so we have 6 of those houses on the site and one 30,000 gallon tank versus the regs asked for 1 per 20 large houses. So we think it's more than adequate. It more than meets the code. There's no other requirement. We're not skirting around anything. This is satisfactory for the fire chief. So I don't know how we could ask for anything more than what satisfies me.
There was a question about lighting. I'd like to address that.
Lighting was all approved by Architectural Review Board. It's a minimal needed for safety and security. It's all dark sky compliant, down facing lighting. The poles can't be any more than 14 feet off the ground, including the base. Everything is shielded, so it only shines down, nothing shines out. There are no spotlights. And again, all the details are in the plans and specifications and was all reviewed and approved by architecture review board.
Was there a photometric plan? Did I miss it?
There was a photometric
Yeah.
plan that was submitted. That should be part of the package.
It's in the package.
Okay.
Which
I think it was,
shows no lake.
the question was, based on our recent, experience with all the snow we've had, to make sure that the documents specify that some evidence, snowplow doesn't just pick snow out of the, when conveniently, within sure keeps those fire lanes open.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be in the condominium documents. That has to be. And if that's in the condominium documents and they sign a contract with the association, it's on them, right? So it's on the snow.
And again, remember there's I think there's signage and
Yeah.
pavement markings on the plan as well, so
Just no snowplow. So.
I know.
Okay.
Well, there are some legitimate ones and then there's some that only come out during large snowstorms. So this will have to be a legitimately insured snow removal. And again, having commercial properties in town, you're actually required by your insurance company to have a legitimate snow and ice removal contract with a legitimate contractor
You have the
to support your.
designated on the plans, the snow reserve area, correct? Thought I saw that on the plan.
We usually shade it in blue and there's probably a call out. I don't see the blue shading, but again, we have a lot of other colors that we didn't want
There
that.
was a lot on there.
And Jeff Jacobson usually will comment on that, and that's not one of his remaining comments, so obviously he was comfortable with that review as well.
And I believe that the HOA would, when they hire a snow operation, would provide that documentation to them as to where the snow goes.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and we can mandate that as well.
And even more specifically where it doesn't.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay. Any general question? Sure.
Just that if one of the neighbors' houses caught on fire, wouldn't they be able to access this water source to help them out?
Yes, they would.
So Ed also did some research, so if there's any body of water on anybody's property and the fire department needs it to fight a fire, they can go on the property to get the water. So it doesn't matter if there's an easement or access or whatever, they can go get the water, right? So
Designated all over.
So saying here, this is on private property, but it's 30,000 gallons of clean, unfrozen water below the ground, so if the neighbor's house is on fire, yes, this.
Yeah, and there's one at Turnstone. We just learned that. There's a 30,000 gallon tank right on at Turnstone, if you know where that is, right before the Essex line. So that's what, quarter of a mile up the road?
Yeah.
So put one there. So there's a lot of water in this area.
In terms of referrals that we've received from the building official. We have received from Jacobson, obviously. From ARB, Planning Commission, as well as as CRAD. We have not yet received a referral, which we believe is forthcoming from the fire marshal. And that's something that I believe the commission would like to see as part of this consideration for this application. So it would be, there's a lot of material that you sent out today. I'm not sure if the commission got to review everything, although you presented it this evening. That I certainly would need more time to review as we wait for a fire marshal response, whether it's coming or not. And also to find out about the E. coli question that were raised earlier. So I would like to keep, and I think the commission can respond on their own, but to keep the public hearing open to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be the 16th of March, I believe.
We have no exception to that at all. Of course.
Is the commission's,
I just have one clarification question before we make any. With regards to the snow removal to that, we'll just base it on this map here, west or eastern corner.
We'll make it more clear on the plan.
Yeah.
For you for next time.
That's fine. That eastern corner that is in that well protection zone. I would be concerned with any surface treatment prior to a storm And then all that snow gets piled up right over the well protection zone and then melts and permeates into the ground. That would be my concern about using that back area for there. And I just wanna, make that noted.
Yeah, I don't know how to physically restrict that. I mean, it's just like any other area when you clear your driveway, right? And you're in your own zone. It's a very small sliver, but we'll come up with some solutions since it's a noted concern.
In terms of the snow removal, so I assume that the whole, paver area would also have to be cleared. Is
Yes,
that right? To the south of the, yeah.
all of that, but equally correct.
So I'd like to make a motion then to continue the public hearing to our next regularly scheduled meeting of March 16th. Second by Robin, that's any further discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just give us 1 minute here while we regroup.
Yeah. Right there.
Yeah, we made that motion. No, we're gonna move it. Huh? Okay, thank you for your patience. We will continue now with Lee. Hannaford Commons Residences. Application for site plan for affordable housing is CGS 830G amended affordability plan.
Yeah, let me know.
Excuse me. Please. For 8 existing residential units of 9,313 square foot constructed at 99 Ninth Street, map 36, lot 87, Residence A District, and construction of a new 7,080 square foot for 31 bedroom units, 9 affordable, 76 Elm Street, 96 and 98 Lynch Street, map 36, lot 97, 98, and 98-1. Shopping center, business B2 district, pedestrian node. Applicant is 76 Elm LLC, 98 Lynn Street and 96 Lynn Street LLC. Agent is attorney Marjorie Shansky. Our action is to open public hearing, decision by April 6th and no later than April 7th. Attorney Shansky, welcome.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening, members of the commission. I'm Marjorie Shansky, I represent the applicant. And I'm here with Mike Picard, who is a representative of the applicant, with Michael Ott, our professional engineer from Summerhill Engineers and Land Surveying. Susan Fields is on the Zoom call, perhaps needs to be promoted to a panelist, as well as Hans Hansen, who's the architectural designer, who should also be made a participant, and also with Joseph Versteeg, who is a principal of Versteeg Associates, an independent consulting firm specializing in building and fire code compliance, who is in the room. So, in the first order of business, the chair having read the description of the proposal, I'd like to file some materials that are the result of the Jacobson letter that we received on Thursday afternoon last week. The first is, and I have 9 copies, and I'm going to try to do this in a way that's then properly distributed. This is the state use, which has error in terms of the distribution of affordable units. There are 30 single one-bedroom dwelling units in the proposed structure, and there are 9 affordable units, of which 5 will be at the 60% AMI rent and 4 will be at the 80%. And that was a bit confused. My apologies in the statement of use. This is a revised affordability plan correcting the same thing. They cross-pollinated between the 2 documents. The affordability plan also includes Schedule D, which is a copy of the zoning chart. And this is responsive to my first set of engineering comments directed at the legal. I suspect I will have more or others, or maybe not, but I hope to speak to Attorney Willis about it as well. This document is a letter from Joseph Christine and his professional profile. So let me.
These are all new things.
These are all
Attorney
new.
Shansky?
They've all been provided to the town and we were asked to bring them to you tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they've all been provided to the
They
town.
correctly state what's in our packets are being replaced by what you're passing.
The things I've given you thus far are replacement. Mr. Versteeg's letter is new,
New,
but it
correct.
has been provided for
Right.
the town.
Correct.
So I have coupled the letter with the professional description and maybe that I decided to table as well. Facilitate.
If you have extra, can you send me 2 of everything?
There are 9.
Okay, because I
so-
need it for another commission
Sure.
member as well.
I'm gonna save this one for you especially, if, may I approach?
Sure.
Is the video having a problem again or?
Oh,
Oh,
God,
God.
yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, that's.
Oh,
Oh,
Back.
someone's back. Someone's back.
We can still hear you guys if you can hear me.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear you.
I just can't see you guys, but we can hear you loud and clear.
I can hear you too, just can't see anything.
Okay, that's good.
So, contextually, we were here in 2019. And, for the other side of the street, on Lynn Street, which is constructed and occupied. And, at that time, this, 96, 98 and Lynn Street and 76L were approved for a mixed-use development. Enter COVID, enter the change in market forces. We are here today modifying that site plan to instead do this residential apartment buildings. And the affordability plan has been modified to also embrace across the street because that was how it was originally submitted, though I will echo something that Kenny Willis and I described along the way, which is that each building accounts for its own 30% of affordable units, and each building accounts for its own distribution of 15% at 60% AMI and 15% at 80% AMI. So you may be familiar with that as well as 101 and 109 Lynn Street. So we have a new neighborhood essentially, and this has been designed to sort of finish the streetscape. So with that, I'm gonna hand this over to Mr. Ott, who can discuss the site with you.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summer Hills units and then I'm Madison. So I apologize. I brought my board and my easel and I went to see and pick up the plans that they're gonna be outside the and they must have. Yeah, I don't have my board with them like in the truck. But Susan Fields, the landscape designer, called her on the way here. And if she's on, she said she should be able to share my plan and she has a PDF version of them. If that helps, I know you're allowed, but it might help if we can show.
Now,
You
Susan?
should be able to
Susan,
share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She knows she's gonna share that.
Can you interview her?
If it helps, so.
Susan, can you unmute?
Oh, yes. Hi. Yes. I am here. I am ready to share whatever you need.
Could you share my plans, Susan, from this morning?
Yeah, of
Please, thank you.
course.
So while she's doing that, so we received, comments from the consultant town engineer, Jeff Jacobson, Thursday afternoon. And this morning at 10 o'clock, we sent an email, I sent an email to Jeff, copy town staff, addressing the engineering comments. I don't know if you have.
That was sent today,
This morning at
this morning?
10. Yeah.
I don't believe it has reached us.
Okay, and that's okay, I think I didn't.
Because I do not have a copy and I don't think anybody else does either.
The intent was, because we received them Thursday afternoon, I wanted to make sure that I, documented that we had, kind of jumped on it to revise, to address the comments. Not hoping that he would write a new letter, because he would be under pressure, obviously, to get a new letter out to that. For Tim. So, but we did, town staff has this, so it was sent at, 10:22, so. So.
And I'll be happy to leave that behind for your record.
Thank you.
What's the date of Jacob's letter?
February 25th.
It's the one we have.
Yeah, we received it Thursday afternoon, last Thursday after this last.
Yeah.
Right. So are the plans being shown, the ones revised through March 2nd?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. And if Susan, if you can, I don't know if you can expand your screen or something, because we can all see.
I am so sorry because this is not my gig. So tell me what I need to do.
Scroll down kind of, maybe.
Oh, you want me to just, okay. So sorry.
Things up, or looks like.
Is this what you want?
No, well, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, we'll do it page second. It's okay. So. So the revisions in response to Jeff Jacobson's letter aren't major. It's pretty minor, in my opinion. It's pretty minor stuff, but what we did want to address them. So two of Jeff Jacobson's comments have to do with the statement of use and the affordability plan. Attorney Shansky made those revisions, and those are the revised documents she handed you. The remaining comments are civil engineering comments, which I addressed. There's a couple of landscape comments, which is in fields, the landscape designer will address tonight. And there was at least two comments about the building, which the architect will address tonight. But the civil engineering comments were the majority of them, so I wanted to make sure that I address those. So this is really, so we'll leave these comments for a little bit later. This is really a redevelopment project. This is the existing conditions plan that Susan is showing in sheet C101 in the plan set. There used to be, there's three parcels here. There's 96 Lynn Street, 98 Lynn Street, and 76 Elm Street. That those addresses were moving from south to north. So 76 Elm Street parcel is at the corner of Lynn Street and Elm Street. And those three parcels will be merged, of course. This is really what I started to say, this is really a redevelopment project. There was a building on the southerly parcel, 96 Elm Street. There was a building on the middle parcel, 98 Elm Street, and there used to be a house on the northerly parcel, 76 Elm Street. The well for that house is still on the property. It's called out on the plans to be properly abandoned. So the house was demolished. I actually don't know the date. Our first application for this entire development, including across the street that Attorney Shansky mentioned, was in 2019. The house was not there then, as I recall, but the two other buildings on 96 Lynn and 98 Lynn were there, and they were demolished sometime after 2019. I would say 3 this year built of it. So this is really a redevelopment project. The proposal is to construct this residential apartment building that we see at the north end of the site that will provide 31 bedroom apartments. There's a pretty basic rectangular shaped parking area that takes up the remainder of the site. I should tell you that today, you probably all know this, but today a portion of the site is the land surface is a processed stone. And that's the southerly portion, and the northerly portion is a lawn. And the site is, as you probably, if you're all familiar with the site, is very, very flat. There's also, it's probably important to note, there's a row of arborvitaes along the southern property line and the eastern property line. They've been there for a couple of years now. And there's really nothing else on the site. So the proposal is the residential apartment building, 31 bedroom apartments. The parking area, sidewalks along the Lynn Street frontage of the parcels and the Elm Street frontage, just like we did across the street for the other buildings. Decorative lighting along the same frontage, the Lynn Street frontage, and the decorative pole mounted lighting along the Lynn Street frontage and the Elm Street frontage. A landscaping plan that the landscape plant materials that Susan Fields will describe later. 2 access driveways on along the Lynn Street frontage, no access from Elm Street. All the utility services approval.
That's the.
I'm
trying to get it back working again.
I can hear.
It's working again. We had
It's
a full
working.
audio.
Just got the audio back. Thank you.
So CRAD has approved the septic system that's got to go up to the state health department because of the design for wastewater, the data wastewater flow. Just like the buildings across the street had to. There's a subsurface stormwater infiltration system along the western boundary along Lynn Street. Then this is kind of an important point. The stormwater runoffs from stormwater from the building roof, from almost all the sidewalks, a very small portion. And the entire parking lot is collected, treated, and discharged to the subsurface stormwater infiltration system. Very little area will contribute stormwater runoff offsite. So the stormwater system consists of typical catch basin inlet structures, storm sewer conveyance system, and cast concrete leaching chamber below the ground. As you can see, can't remember how long it is, but I think it's 3 rows of 13 or 14 8-foot long chambers, as I recall. I'm going by memory on all of this.
3 rows of 14 leaching chambers.
Thanks.
Just reading from the plans.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm trying to do it by memory. So,
So I think that's an important point. We put in islands in the middle of the parking lot. Because the dimensions, the depth of this site from east to west is such that if we didn't do that, it would be a unusually wide open, expansive pavement. So we have an 8-foot island in between the parking bays, the westerly parking bays along Lynch Street and the easterly parking bays at the bottom of the sheet. You should be able to see that, I think, on the plan, and that island has lighting in it. Also, it has 2 decorative pole mounted airlights, and the lighting is the same lighting that we used across the street for the previous 3 applications. It is, the fixtures are dark sky compliant. They're post-op fixtures, but the LED boards are up inside the fixture and they're horizontal. All the lighting is dark sky compliant. It meets all the backlight, uplight, and glare standards, the current standards. There's details shown on the plan of the lighting, and there should be an exterior lighting photometric plan that you guys should have, hopefully in the packages that was submitted also. The sidewalks there are small sidewalks internal to the site, but the majority of the sidewalks are within the right of way of Lynn Street and Elm Street. They will be offered to the town as public improvements. Some of the lighting, if I can peek at your plan.
Sure.
Yeah, I can say thank you. Some of the lighting is also in the right of way of the roads. They will be offered to the town also. At the corner of Lynn Street and Elm Street, the sidewalk cuts across the corner of the property. And you can see that there's a line there with 3 dashes in it. That's the easement line. There'll be a sidewalk easement that will be granted to the town also. It's written as part of this, just like we had to do the same thing on the other side of the street. I think that should cover the site improvement. So there's one other thing. There's a low point in Lynn Street today that doesn't drain. There's a low point in the pavement. So we propose to put a catch basin within the town road, within the Lynn Street, and a small subsurface infiltration system for that also. That will be a public improvement also. Yes, yeah. So it's just to the left of the Lynn Street sidewalk entrance in the building. So regarding building mounted lighting, there will be, as you can see, there's 2 entries to the building, one from the sidewalk on Lynn Street, one from the sidewalk in the parking area. Interior to the site, the entries are covered. The lighting that's required by the state building code would be up in the ceiling of those covered entries. The architect will be able to speak to whether there is other building mounted lighting, but those code required lights at the entries again will be, up under the covered entry roof ceiling. I think. We submitted a traffic letter report from our traffic consultant, Dave Sullivan at SLR. That should be in the package. If the traffic generation, as you might imagine, from residential apartments is pretty low, but I'm sure that the consultant engineer has reviewed that also. He didn't have any comments on that. He didn't really have any comments on we had one comment on the stormwater management system. I'll get back to these comments last, but I don't think I'm missing anything. I think those are the improvements. I can stop there for a bit if you have any questions before I go through his comments, which I'll try to do really quickly.
Go ahead, continue, please.
Okay. As you know, this application is being submitted under the affordable housing statutes. So there's certain zoning regulations that aren't met. They don't have anything to do with health or safety, but there's certainly zoning regulations that aren't met. One is, and this was his first engineering related comment, is that we show, the buildings, we show the building 11 feet from the street line of Lynn Street and Elm Street. The required setback in this zoning district, that means the shopping center, B2 shopping center business district, I believe.
Right.
Is 25 feet, shopping center business B2. So the street line setback is 25 feet. We are proposing 11 feet, both from the Lynn Street line and the Elm Street line. That's the same thing we did for all three previous applications across the street. There's language in the zoning regulations that allows for a 10-foot reduction in the street line setback in a pedestrian node. Starting in 2019, in the previous three applications, we had a note on our plans. I went back and checked where we made note of that provision where you could go down to 10 feet. That's how those other three were approved. On this application, Jeff pointed out, and he's right, that the pedestrian node 10-foot reduction to 10 feet wouldn't really apply to a solely residential building. I responded that we carried that note through because that's what was done from 2019 with all the previous three applications. The previous three applications all had residential only buildings on the other side of the road. 99 Lynn Street, 101 Lynn Street, and 109 Lynn Street are solely residential apartment buildings. That comment never came up in the past three applications. It came up this time. It's technically correct, but I just I pointed out in here that we just carried that through from the previous applications. And actually, it doesn't really matter because this is an application under the affordable housing statutes. Similarly, there are required landscape buffers in this zone, and they have been reduced also. The landscape buffer requirements in the town zoning regulations, they have been reduced. I cited what they are on the title sheet of the drawing set in the notes under the zoning standard schedule. They, as you might imagine, we don't have to comply with those either. We did the best we could, however, though, with our landscape plan to make those buffers as well as we could. And we really think that the island in the center of that parking lot is important, and that's why the easterly landscape buffer has been reduced to what it is. And it's noted on the plan sheets. We believe that it's more important to have that interior landscaped island than to try to maintain a wider buffer width along the easterly property line, where, as you know, there's already a complete road of all of the varieties, and it backs up to the back. If you look at that plan, you can see that long building that adjoins the site. That's the back of a multi-unit commercial building where all their gas meters and utility, are. So that's why we did it that way. The part he had asked, and I'll try to do this really quickly. None of this is none of this, I don't think, as I said earlier, none of these comments are major. None of them were a problem for me. We just did what Jeff asked. The parallel parking spaces in Lynn Street, which I really didn't talk about, but we'll get back to them. He asked that we increase their dimensions, which is fine. They meet standards as we propose them, but I increased their dimensions on these revised plans. He talked about snow storage areas, and we have the same answer that we've always given to the commission in the previous three applications. These are tight sites. If you read your regulations strictly, you can't use a landscaped area to store snow. And there's a whole bunch of other exclusions. That's a good regulation. In practice, it doesn't happen. I was looking today when I was in town and there's snow piled up up against trees and up against landscape plant material all over there. So because this is such a tight site, just like the sites across the street, our answer to that is the property owner or his contracted property management firm will have to make arrangements to have snow removed. It depends on, you know, how much snow we get, what the temperature, there's so many factors that go into how much room snow takes up, you know, the water content of the snow, the temperature, what happens before and after it snows. There's all kinds of variables there, but the bottom line is when the snow gets too much, when the stored snow becomes too much, a contractor will have to take it and remove it from the site and dispose of it properly. And I want to make sure that I cover all these. He asked us to add some spot elevations and additional spot elevations in various places, and we did. He asked us to add a timber post and rail fence along the retaining wall that I forgot to mention. That is along the easterly property line. There's a detail on the plans for it, and it's called out on the plans. There's a very short cast in place concrete retaining wall. Jeff noted that it's 3.4 feet high. It's actually not. It's actually 2 feet, a little over 2 feet high. I know how he got that, but the actual exposed height of the wall from the top of the table is only about that high. So we added that. He asked if we could make sure that the sidewalk on Elm Street has the stamped concrete red brick colored soldier course on both sides of the walk, because that's town standard. I added the note to do that. We did not do that on the other side of the street, and we did not do it along Lynn Street. Those are plain concrete sidewalks. They have no soldier stamped concrete soldier course. But because he asked, we added the note to the plan. Should be on sheet C201 on the right hand side of it. Bear with me 1 second. I think I may have. I had forgotten to include logs of the test pits that we did for the subsurface stormwater infiltration system. We did 3 test pits. They were shown on the original submitted plans. They're referenced in my stormwater management report, but I had forgotten to do the logs. I sent them a copy of the logs this morning. The only other comment you had, and I'm gonna speak with him about. He asked if we could extend the side. Right now, the sidewalks don't extend across the 2 access driveways. That's what we did on the other side of the street also. I went there today just to make sure I remembered it right. He asked that we extend them across. I'm gonna talk to him about that. If it's really important, we know zoning regulation requires that.
Would you do
Across what?
Across the access driveways, so if you study the plan, you'll see that the sidewalk
okay.
goes right
I got
up the
it,
drive
yeah.
stops, you know what I mean?
Yep, thank you.
Pave the entrance and start the sidewalk?
Yeah, there's concrete sidewalk ramps, typically, the sidewalk goes like this, and then as you approach the driveway, it goes down, and then the driveway is just paved.
Yeah.
Then there's another ramp where you would walk up to the sidewalk, yeah. That's exactly how the other side of Lynn Street is, if you look at it tomorrow, that's what you'll see. So that's how we did it in the past 3 applications. This time he asked that it go across. I'll talk to him about it. It's not a big deal, truthfully. The driveways are 24 feet wide, so it would be 48 feet of additional.
It's not a big deal, pardon me for interrupting, it's not a big deal, but there is continuity and a sense of place associated with the totality of development on Lynn Street, including the use of the same light fixtures, and we got very enthusiastic comments about the landscaping on the odd side of Lynn Street, which is going to be emulated on this side of Lynn Street. And so it's that whole sort of sense of place where it seems to me continuity should have a role from an aesthetic perspective. Especially where there's no ordinance, sorry.
No, that's okay. So I mentioned the retaining wall finally, which I'd forgotten. At the east, along the easterly property line, and again, it's only a couple of feet high. The exposed height face is only a couple of feet high. The parallel parking in Elm Street I didn't mention. We're proposing 7 on-street parallel parking spaces. We did that because going all the way back to the original applications, 3 applications on the other side of the street. We had proposed initially parallel parking on both sides of the street. We were trying to create a streetscape. Where there was parallel parking to hopefully serve some form of traffic calming, speed, decorative street lighting and landscaping along the street. My recollection is that we ran into issues that it was possibly the police department, I don't remember. But we ended up removing the parallel parking from the Lynn Street side. We laid it all out initially so parallel parking would fit on both sides. So this application shows the parallel parking on the east side of Lynn Street. While we're on parking,
It'll be on both Lind and Elm,
no, it's only on Lynn.
only on.
Yeah, no,
One
you're
side,
not,
one
you couldn't
side.
put it, you couldn't put it on, no, you don't
Okay.
do that. No, no, it's just on Lynn Street. If you look at the
Okay.
plan, you'll see it. Yeah, there's 7 total. I will revise this, but I realize that the way I laid out the parking requirements in the schedule on the title sheet is a little misleading. Someone may read it as we are trying to count the 7 parallel parking spaces in our development's total parking space availability, and we're not doing that. I don't know if you read it that way, but some might as I read it. So I'm gonna change that. The bottom line is 30 parking spaces are required on the site, and we have 35 parking spaces. So we don't need the 7 spaces to meet parking requirements. We think that it's a good idea to provide those spaces. We thought it was a good idea to provide them on the other side also.
How many parking spaces? I'm sorry, I'm looking at your chart on the
So-
front sheet. I wanna just be clear so I understand.
Yep, so section 62.4.5B of the zoning regulations would require a space and a half per 1-bedroom dwelling unit. So that would be a total of 45. But as you know, Matt, that section -2 of the Very General Statutes has
Reduced.
reduced the number of parking spaces for 1-bedroom units down to 1. So that would be a requirement of 30, and we have 35 on the site. 7 on the street.
Yep.
35. And you might now see why I think I should rewrite the way I spelled it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looks like we're trying to count the 7 spaces in our total park count. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it now, but thank you.
Yep. Any questions? I think that might be it.
Over there, are you gonna lose any spaces if you put in that intervening landscape island?
We would, oh, sorry, missed that. Yes, that's one of his comments. We're not gonna put in an intervening landscape island. Yes, we would lose a space for sure, but we don't wanna do that. We think that the perimeter landscaping plus the internal island, the 8-foot wide internal island, that's like is the right way to do it. And you just reminded me, I'm trying to read this and answer at the same time, but you just reminded me, there is another comment that Jeff made about the waste and recycling area enclosures in the corner of the parking lot. So we know, I mean, it's kind of obvious that if cars were parked there, the typical truck that would come and open the gates and lift up the containers doesn't work. But just like the previous 3 applications, because these sites are so tight and we're trying to get as much parking as we can for the residents, the property owner, or as I answer Jeff here, the property owner or their contracted property management firm is gonna have to make arrangements to remove the waste and the recycling when they can. They also use rollout containers. They can actually open the gates and roll the containers out. It's residential waste only. That's the only use of the site. Those containers can be rolled out. So if there was a car in particular that was in the way, those containers can be rolled out and moved. The guys don't like it. The waste hauler, guys don't like it. They don't really want, they don't even want to get out of their truck to open the gates. But there's gates, of course. So that's our answer. That was the same way we responded in the previous three applications. To provide access for a truck to pull straight up would cause us to lose 2 parking spaces. We could provide it, but it would cause us to lose 2 spaces.
If you're doing a 1-to-1 parking space to unit, that shouldn't hurt though, right? Because if you have 35 now and you have 30 units, I'm not saying what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just getting clarification. If you lose 2 spots for that, it's not necessarily a detriment to the parking plan.
We'd still be +3. Yep. But I think, to use your word, I think it would be a detriment. Only because, as you might imagine, although these are 1-bedroom units, there may be a couple of people in an apartment. They might want to have 2 cars. I mean, there's all kinds of different scenarios. There's visitors, but the way I understand these kind of developments are looked at is once this is approved and it's built and people go to rent or lease apartments, they're made aware of course of the parking situation. And it may not work for them. There might be a couple and they have to have 2 cars. And it just isn't gonna work for them, and they might not be able to rent this particular in this building, but others can. So yes, you're correct. We could go down to 33. But we'd rather not do that. We'd rather try to provide as much parking as we can outside.
So the obvious question is, maybe it's just me, what do you use across the street? Because I don't remember. Or did you use the 1-for-1 rule? I know they're not 1-bedroom units over there, but did you use the reduced requirement over there?
No, because back then, that current state statute wasn't in place.
Okay.
We'd have to go back in 1.5 for the 1-bedrooms, and then on the other side, there's 2 bedrooms also apartments, and those were higher parking space numbers.
Okay, so you're.
I think you did, I think you did touch upon the part where you're talking about the on-street parking. That he was concerned about people opening their doors, and you would change that configuration?
I did change it.
You
Yeah.
did? Okay, I thought you did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to correct. Okay.
Yeah. The spaces meet standards as
Yes.
I laid them out.
Right.
But there is language in the standards that you can widen them. And you can shorten the end spaces and lengthen the interior spaces. And I did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said that, but.
The waste pickup. It just looks messy. It looks like this. How's it work across the street? Because you have the same situation you said? Where someone has to roll out the container for pickup?
I honestly don't remember. I guess what I was really trying to say is on the other side of the street, those 3 applications are as tight as this one.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would go there tomorrow and look.
I can answer that question. We have no issue, fortunately.
Identify yourself.
My name is Michael Picard, and I'm the principal of Hanford Commons. So on 99 in particular, so we stage the delivery times, typically mid-mornings. And the spots that are near, those spots are overflow spots. They're not designated spots. And we really never had a problem. But yes, they have to roll them out, in typically, even with 99, the way it's configured, they have to roll it out, turn it, and they lift it in. So it's not been a problem. And actually in 101, the way that the unit is set up, they kind of can almost get there. They still have to roll it out. In 109, they have to clearly roll it out, and in 99, they roll it out. And we've actually never had a problem. So
This is a messy little corner because first of all, you're getting down to 1-on-1, you get 35 for 30 units. So Probably they're gonna be full, maybe not. I
Yeah,
don't know.
well, here's the sort of the reality of this is that. Unfortunately, sometimes the Pizza Place and Doro and others
Well, I see him, yeah.
grab, right? And so. And during the day, now, we have not had, nighttime is obviously when the parking lots are typically full. And, we haven't really had a parking problem, other than when 745 first opened, it had a parking problem, but, Doro, they overflow there now, and they're allowed to overflow until we build this. That was part of the agreement. I don't know if people will continue to do that, the Doros, so that's why, the on-street parking, I'm thinking would also be beneficial to create less traffic jams and Mike said before, we were contemplating this way back. And we were meeting with your former planner, she and Mike had talked about, this whole sense of place and expanding the node and how cool the parallel parking would be and actually perhaps slow down some of this jet streams that these guys use turning these corners. So yeah, but truthfully, we have not had one problem with garbage issues. The only things that we ever had problems with sometimes is other usage parking on our stuff, on our issues, and having to get, the police involved and talked about towing and things like that, that's really the only thing, so. I hope that answers it, but
You did.
it has not been garbage situation works out fine, because they pull it out in rollers. They're not, they're not industrial, like you said, they're small rolling dumpsters, and most of the time they're not even full. They come twice a week, so they're really not an issue.
The question regarding the parking is you have 30 units of 30 spaces. They're designated for each, right, but 30 apartments. Is each apartment number designated a specific parking spot?
There will be,
With
yes.
a number on it, so that would. Okay.
That's how we kind of.
And you had on the other
We had the same problem on the other side. We had, when we first started it, we didn't, and now we do.
Okay.
I had a question on, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with the last one is the fire trucks able to get into the parking lot, turn radiuses, all that stuff.
So, yeah, so that's a standard parking lot layout, 24-foot wide. Access driveways and aisle between the islands. I think what I'll do, I think maybe Joe or Steve can talk more about that. But in my experience, yeah, especially given that there's two street frontages and, it's so close in.
Had you reviewed that with the fire department?
Oh, we submitted everything, but we didn't get.
You haven't heard anything
We
back
haven't
yet?
gotten comments. The only review comments we've gotten back so far from, Jeff Jefferson. Yeah.
Perhaps Mr. Versteeg could just talk about the fire apparatus question. Access egress.
Before we do that, are you, any more questions for me, or are you?
I just have one more question on the landscaping, the trees that abut the 4 on-street parking spots, do those have any sightline issues that drivers have to worry about at all?
No, we choose them just like the other side to make sure they don't obstruct driveway intersections, so distance, yeah.
Since we're talking about trees, so did you change it to meet the 3.5? Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Susan will talk about that, yeah. Yeah, we
Yes.
did. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying about the 2 drive aisles, but I hate to see all that extra pavement in theirs in a way that feels sort of unnecessary to me. So I'm wondering why you can't take that whole western row and just jog it east and narrow down to 1 driveway.
You mean,
Like, can't you
Here's the
shift it
depth.
all down?
Use the depth of the pavement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of having that center island, you could pick up like another 32 feet of landscaping. Or you
Actually-
could, or you could stick in some parking space.
Actually, if you go, and I'm on my memory, but go to the site layout plan.
Yeah,
Sheet C.
that's what
maybe
I'm
you're on
looking at, yeah,
203.
yeah, that's what I,
So I think if you look. If you look at that. Casey, we would gain. If we remove that island, and we slide that. Parking bay along Lynn Street down, we gain 8 feet. Right. Am I looking at it, am I doing that correctly? Yeah. Yeah,
but you
we
could
gain
lose 24 feet of pavement and turn that into landscaping along Lynn Street.
24 feet.
You could have one 24-foot drive aisle, 24 feet is sufficient for a two-way drive.
Yeah, we absolutely, that's what we did though.
Yeah, so, but I mean, you could have just the normal, the more typical, where you have the spaces across from each other.
Yeah.
With
that-
one 24-foot drive, so like your view goes deeper and there's landscaping, or you have, northwest, north-south parking
Yeah.
space, so
You
that's
know-
north-south parking space.
It just hit me why. The parking on the south side.
Yeah.
We would lose, or most of it.
I don't think you would,
Oh, you would, if I
but you
did,
still have 24 feet there too.
if you pull it down though, you're gonna lose those spaces, some of those spaces.
According to this, it says you got 24 feet
We have,
north and south between.
we have 24 feet everywhere, yeah,
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 right.
yeah, it's 24 feet
But
everywhere.
it's still,
Yeah, I'll look at it, but I don't,
Okay,
I remember, I struggled with this.
there was
because I-
some reason,
I didn't wanna have a sea of pavement, that's why we
Right.
put the island.
right,
Yeah, and that's why we went, that's why we went, and I noted it in note 6 on the title sheet. That's why we reduced, like I was saying earlier, that's why we reduced the eastern landscape buffer,
right.
because like I was saying, it goes to the back of the building, it doesn't matter. I know what you're saying. I know
Yeah,
what you're
because if
saying.
you dropped it, couldn't you also add some spaces across from that southern? Avenue, you know
I
what I'm
don't-
saying?
It's hard.
Me, I don't, it's hard to
for me. I gotta
visualize,
sit down
I know,
with a
same, and,
pencil and a scale,
Same,
but I
yeah.
can look at it.
yeah, okay, just
Yeah.
because I hate to see more pavement than we need, and I appreciate you putting in the center avenue, but if we can,
Yeah,
I
and
think we
we,
can do to chip away at that.
yeah, and we addressed the stormwater impacts to, by.
Right, right,
Which made that system, bigger than, large.
okay,
Yeah, but I know what you're saying now.
okay.
Yeah, I can look at it.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
then the other question, in regard to, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head, the existing apartments are 3 stories. Is that right?
yeah.
On the other side, it is.
Yes. Has anyone talked to you haven't had a conversation or heard from the fire chief yet about the height of the building?
I stayed away from that, as you could tell.
Okay.
So Mr. Versteeg is. gonna
Okay,
talk
so we're
about
gonna
that.
talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
height
yeah.
too. Okay,
As well as the architect.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Okay.
While we're on parking, Jacobson had made a recommendation on the parallel that, should be reviewed by the new police chief and director of public works.
Yeah, we haven't.
You haven't done
We
that?
haven't received anything. I've heard that, Bill Claffey, the director of public works, has seen this,
Mhm.
but we don't, I'll have to reach out to town staff.
Right, you did reach out already though. First time,
Kind of indirectly, I was in a meeting with him on another project in this room,
okay.
and he made mention of it, so he knows about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the fire chief knows
Right.
also about the height of the, fire chief happened to be in that building, in that meeting, and he knows about the height of the building.
Yeah, well, my specific was dealing with the parallel.
Yeah, yeah, we'll reach out and try to get comments. And that's why, by the way, and I said this in my email, I didn't want to submit 20 more copies of revised plans. The only comments we have are from the consulting town engineer. This is the first time you've seen it. I want to make sure we got your input and other town departments and stuff.
I'll have some others afterwards, but we'll move on.
Okay.
So, we can either go to Mr. Versteeg or go to the architect.
Whatever you'd like to do for this.
Pardon me?
I said whatever you'd like to.
It might be auspicious to go to Mr. Hanson in order to get the building on the record and then go to Mr. Murphy to talk about the code issues.
And Susan's on that.
And yes, and Susan's there for landscaping.
You can't hear him. He's muted.
He's muted.
Can you unmute, please?
There you go.
This is Hans Hansen, the architect. Sorry about that. Could you please repeat your question? I had a kind of an emergency call come in when you were talking.
Oh, the height, I think he means.
Perhaps you could discuss the building. Can you share your screen?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So what we have here, there were a couple questions that came up. One of them was about the building height. I do apologize that I wasn't aware that we didn't send regular scaled title block drawings. But anyway, the heights are well dimensioned on the plans for actually maximum roof height, not the mean roof height. And that is what Mike Ott has on his drawings of the 48 foot 3 inches. I think he might have 48.3, but it's close enough. So that was one comment, but the architecture, of course, is very nice and kind with the other buildings. And one of the things that came up was also about lighting. And if I can, I'll just bring up some of the photos, if your memory doesn't serve you well, of how the lighting was done on these buildings. And of course, we would do a similar type of lighting on this building, trying to keep everything consistent. So you can see where the majority of the lighting is down lighting. We do have a couple wall washers that are relatively low voltage, but for the most part, I believe they meet the regulations the way they are, and they're the lighting is relatively consistent throughout this area. And I believe the intention is to keep that similar lighting design along with the landscaping so that this new building will kind of match the fabric that we've created.
There's a question. Mr. Hanson, hold on.
We're looking at the elevation of the building. If you think you're showing photographs, we are not seeing them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me see if I can. Maybe I have to reshare. All right, let me try to do this. I apologize for that. So here's can you see it now?
Yes.
So here's the existing buildings in a dusk setting so that you can see how the lighting goes all the way down the street. And for the most part, like I was saying, most of the lighting is downlights with the exception of the corner wall washers. And then you can see some of the street lights that Mike Ott was talking about that all meet the night sky compliance in these areas. I do have another set of photographs, if you can bear with me. This is 99 Lynn Street. And you can see close up how that lighting functions. And I believe, yeah, if you come around the back, this also shows some of the parking lot fixtures that are also nightlight compliant, and they're more the shoebox fixtures in the main parking lot. But the parking lots are all in the back of the building so that they're not obtrusive to the street view, which is part of the reason for keeping all these buildings close to the street. And I apologize for not having those scale drawings. That was one of the comments that we got from Mr. Jacobson. And I'll try not to let that happen again. I didn't realize they went out that way. So
Will we get these photographs for the record?
I will
Thank you.
obtain the photograph for the record.
Thank you.
We also gave, as part of the record, might be part of it, we had renderings, color renderings of those buildings that were submitted.
No,
I
they weren't submitted, I don't believe.
I submitted them, I personally got them all. From the ARB, and I also brought it. I don't know, but I only brought one set. So perhaps that's why they didn't do it.
are there any other questions?
I have one on the, and it may be more directed towards new attorney Shansky than the architect. But in the drawings that we have here, we know the lot is level.
Correct.
And the height measurement is from original ground level to the top.
The
Okay,
height of-
the height level is measured from the original ground surface to the top of the building. In the renderings we have here, they're showing what would appear to be different elevations on the setting of the building. And the lot is currently level. So we gotta make sure that when we get a scale and we get a measurement, we are taking those from the original ground level as it sits now. Whether or not there's going to be raised locations around the building or not, I wanna make sure that we get the correct.
You know, I wasn't involved in those dimensions, but I do know that, you know, I look at so many towns regulations, I can't
Right.
remember how old Saybrook says it, so we'll have to check.
Yeah, it is based on the original ground.
Existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
We're changing the elevation.
Done along with the scaling, so we have a way to verify.
When I was on the State Codes and Standards Committee for 24 years, the architects on the committee complained bitterly that every town had a different definition of height. And they screamed for a uniform definition of height for the very reason that Mr. Ott has said, but we'll get that.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hanson. Are there any other questions for him? We'll go to Susan Fields to talk about the landscaping and then Mr. Christie.
Hello, everyone. Susan Fields, landscape designer, Niantic, Connecticut. If I can share my screen, I'll show you the landscape plan. Share. Okay. Sorry, let me just scooch this out of the way. So the landscape plan for the property here is very similar to what's happening across the street at 99, 101, and 109. The plantings specifically around the building are mimic almost exactly what's happening across the street with the punctuations of height of the hornbeam. And then we have some boxwoods. The variety that we have chosen, of course, is one that does not get any diseases, does not get the boxwood blight. It's a Japanese, Korean version, and it's a seasonal color. So it's very similar to, again, what's happening across the street. We did make the adjustments to the notes from Jeff, and I apologize for misnoting the caliper size. They are all 3.5 caliper as required per code now. These are Zelkova serratas here and down the center island. And the reason why we chose those is they are actually what started the whole thing was at previously Soup and Sandwich. That was the tree that was there that kind of dictated the feeling that we have going across the street and through the apartments. They are the same tree that's in the parking lots on the buildings across the street. They're a vase-shaped tree, which really allows for good view. You don't have to worry about low branching. And we'll have sight lines going out of any in and out of the driveways. And then around closer to the building, what I recommended was some Gladitia, which is a honey locust. It's thornless honey locust. It's a larger street tree that does well in this area. Does well as a street tree. It is also a taller tree that wants to get to about 50 feet tall and can help bring down kind of the scale of the building. But the beauty of the tree is it's a very, the foliage is very light and airy. So we're not having a very heavy, you let the building be the mass and then the trees can anchor it back to the ground. Along Elm Street, again, we have some Japanese, hollies, very similar to a crossover on the other side of the road, and then the arborvitae hedge that is already existing. And then we created a small courtyard area similar to across the street where residents can meet and socialize and form a community with a pergola and a small fire pit and grilling area. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question, I totally understand the idea of the 50-foot tree bringing down the perceived height of the building makes 100% sense. Is there any concern with the power lines across the street of a 50-foot tree?
No, it's more a taller tree as opposed to a wider tree. Also, we do, as we have across the street, maintain maintenance on all of the foliage, all of the trees. We maintain the arborvitae hedge. We keep everything kind of pruned. That's part of the maintenance program that we have with the people that take care of the property. But no, this Gladitia will not, it does not want to get, it's more about probably, it's a wider tree, but again, we maintain them and it's a light and airy tree. So no, I'm not concerned about this.
Yeah, no, thank you. I didn't phrase it correctly. More if the tree fell down 50 feet
well,
tall.
I think that would happen with, honestly, most of the, I suppose, yes, if the tree fell down, but we chose these trees specifically based on the fact that they are street trees that do like to survive in the root systems that are going here. They are conditioned for the storms and events that we have.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Versteeg, and as he stands up, I'd like to pass in Mike Gott's memo back to Jeff Jacobson, so you have at least mine in the record for this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Versteeg. Versteeg Associates. I'm a building and fire safety code consultant that was retained by the applicant in this matter. I'm a Connecticut licensed building official and a Connecticut certified fire marshal and have been such for a little over 40 years. I serve on a number of the NFPA committees, the I code committees that develop these codes. I've been the chairman of many of those documents and have probably have been the lead when I worked at state fire marshals when I was the chief of technical services for developing probably 5 fire safety codes. I looked at this project for compliance with the current building code and the current fire safety code and fire prevention code. I know there's been discussion about height. I will tell you that this is a 4-story building. The building code allows for this type of construction for the building to be 4 stories in height. And it also has a table for maximum height in feet. Just in case you want to build a building that has a 15-foot ceiling height. The maximum height of a building is 70 feet for this type of construction. We're only 48. And that's to the mean average of the roof. So when you have a peak roof, if it's 10 feet, you come down 5 feet and you measure from that point down to ground. And you don't take into account cupolas, rooftop structures, cupolas, things like that are not accounted. So from a standpoint of the building code, this is woefully in compliance. And regardless where you measure from, that's why I didn't take it into account, existing grade, new grade, because if you have a slope, the code requires the measurement to be taken from what they call the grade plane. So you have to establish all 4 corners of the building and establish the grade plane. Because as you know, some buildings are 3 stories in the front, 4 stories in the back. So the question comes up from a code standpoint. Is this a 3-story building and it's okay? Or is it a 4-story building and not okay? So the designer has to establish the grade plane. Here, the grade plane didn't matter. Why? Because they're all 4 stories or above grade, none of it's a basement, and it's within the 70-foot limitation to cook. Easy peasy.
Have you discussed this with the fire marshal or the fire chief?
I did discuss with the fire marshal, and he understands that building height is none of his business. It's building code
Well,
requirements, and I don't mean that
The
negatively.
reason I'm asking is because I was in a different meeting recently where we were told that we don't have fire apparatus that's tall enough to reach a building above 3 stories, that we can have more than 3 stories in town because we don't have high enough fire apparatus.
Well, I would say that that's untrue. I don't know who told you that. But town of Old Saybrook has an aerial apparatus, a ladder truck, that has a 90-foot ladder on it, 95-foot ladder.
Okay.
So let me come back to that. We looked at, so this building is compliant with the height and area requirements of the building code, location on the property, all the fire protection features that are required to be within it. It's gotta be fully sprinkler protected. It's gonna have standpipes in each one of the stairways for the firemen, so they don't have to drug hose from ground level all the way up to the 4th floor. They just take a hose pack with them, get to the top floor, connect it, the pumper connects, and they've got their water. So all of that is satisfied by compliance with the building code and the fire code. The fire code deals with fire department vehicle access. And the current code says that you have to get a fire truck within 50 feet of an exterior door, so you can gain entrance. This building is ideal because there's an entrance on Lynn and an entrance on Elm. And you don't need driveways or anything. You just park in the street, you're within 50 feet. Simple. The other rule is that you have to be able to circumvent the building on foot, 450 feet. And if it's too great for one person to circumvent, you start in the same spot with 2 people, and one goes clockwise, one goes counterclockwise. And as long as each one of them have not traveled more than 450 feet, it meets code. Okay? The other concern that often comes in when you set the building back off the street with a driveway is that the code limits how far you can drive in. Once you drive in more than 150 feet, they don't let you back out. Well, they don't want you to back out. They want to turn around. So either a circuitous drive around through the parking lot and out, or they want a cul-de-sac, or what they call a K-turn, where you drive up and back up and come out. None of that applies to this building because they have access to Lind, they have access to Elm, and somebody mentioned parking lot. There's no need to drive in and through the parking lot. No matter which driveway I drive in, if I choose to drive in to deal with a car fire, I'm not more than 150 feet, I can back out. So this is totally compliant with the current code. Now, there's a proposed fire safety code that is, they're talking July of this year, which means probably the end of the year, December. The legislature is carefully looking at these new fire lane requirements for the negative impact it's going to have on affordable housing projects. Not this. This is I will tell you that this is probably the most ideal 830G or fire department vehicle access development I've looked at in 30 years. Because it's location on the lot. There's no odd topography. You have access to all 4 sides. The new requirement is not only what I told you, get a truck within 50 feet of a front door, but if you picture the Lynn side and the Elm side, you have to be able to get a ladder truck parked along that side, no closer than 15 feet to the building, and no farther than 30 feet away. So that establishes where that truck's going to be. So when you scale the drawings, anywhere along Lynn and anywhere along Elm, you can fit that ladder truck. Now, when you take and you do the isometrics and you take a 90-foot 5 aerial and you put it up to a 48-foot high building, 30 feet away, it's only a 58-foot reach. So this ladder will extend 30 feet over the top of this building.
We obtained the fire apparatus information from the fire department and passed it on to Mr. Christie.
Right. I did talk to the fire marshal the other day. Congratulated him on being Pete Terenzi's replacement. And we had a good conversation about code application and so forth. And he had not seen this project as of yet.
Usually fire marshal will weigh in. At planning and zoning phase. Building officials typically will not. Their approach is simply, if you approve it, it's gonna come to me as the building official in a building permit application. And I'll either approve it or I'll deny it. But either way, it won't be built if it doesn't meet code. The building officials usually tend to step back.
We have a question here.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is, you'd made a comment that there wasn't a basement, is that? And I see a basement on the plans.
Yeah, basements don't count for building height.
Basements don't count, not that there isn't a basement,
Right.
you're just not counting it.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so when you deal with a slope lot, that's always.
No, I'm
the
all
issue.
set now.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No, thank you.
One of the better projects I've seen.
You have anything else?
That's, I think we
Okay.
introduced the commission to the, you know.
I have a couple, I think that haven't been, addressed, that I'd like to, there after, point number 4 on, Jacobson's letter had to do with the location of the bicycle rack in the southwest corner. Is there been any consideration of that because of, his concern there?
So he mentioned safety. We'll have to talk about that.
Okay,
I don't think we can resolve it today, but we'll have to talk about
but
it.
you will address that.
We'll talk about it.
Um. I think that was it.
I had one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just talking about, making it a space, like a space, I'm blanking on words right now, but, creating a space and, thank you. And, you know, now this could potentially be a nice, congruous area, both sides of the street. Right now, we know that the restaurant that's at the corner is pretty busy. If you have all these people living on both sides, I think this got brought up at the planning meeting too, and I don't even know where you would put this or how you would even do it. But if you have parking spaces on the street, I'm just interested in a conversation about, how people are gonna cross the street safely. And, just interested in that. I don't wanna get into a crosswalk conversation, but that's sort of my overarching thoughts on this, just for pedestrian safety of people who live on one side that are trying to get to the other, or people who are trying to walk across to say Stop and Shop, because that's now gonna be something that people can walk to instead of have to get in their car and drive across. I just want it to be part of a conversation of this project as it moves forward for pedestrian safety in the different areas.
So are you talking about Elm Street or are you talking about Lynn
Both.
Street?
Both, because one has the potential to cross. I understand the length of the street. Yeah, I live here, so, you know, people can walk down to the end, cross the street. I don't believe right now there's a crosswalk that goes across Lynn on the post road. I think the crosswalk only goes across the post road. So how would safely people get across Lynn Street, and then more especially residents of both existing places and the proposed place getting across Elm Street to get to the shopping center?
So I can answer. So, across Lynn Street, the only place you would put a crosswalk with, let me preface this by saying, we'll check with our traffic consultant.
We'll talk to him.
But here's my experience. The only place you could put a crosswalk along Lynn Street is either at the intersection or both. The intersection with the post road and Elm. You don't want to put a mid-block crosswalk in Lynn Street. They present safety problems, and it's too short a block, short of the lane, you know. Not to mention the signage That, it would look like, Lynn Street will look like I shouldn't say this, I was gonna mention downtown. It'll look like a sign farm. Because you need signage at the crosswalk, you need advanced signage before as you approach. But at the intersections easily, because they're stop controlled, they have a stop sign and all it would require is pavement markings. So that's easy. Cross Elm Street is a bigger discussion.
Yeah.
It depends on pedestrian volumes, whether a crosswalk is warranted. And we'll talk to our traffic consultant. Yeah.
Thank you.
In fact, that was brought up by the planning commission in their note.
There's a conversation.
There was a conversation, and I think early on was also a conversation at ARB. My thought on it, you're gonna do your homework, obviously, is that if you have a crosswalk across Elm, you're still gonna have a safety issue. Because people whip through there unless there's a stoplight put in or a crosswalk, lighted crosswalk. People are gonna get hit.
You can't.
People aren't gonna abide by it, so it's something that has to be looked at, but a crosswalk wouldn't be totally appropriate and acceptable to provide safe crossing.
Yeah, so the issue with the crosswalk on Elm Street is the width. I think you were getting at this. The width of Elm Street and the standard walking speed that we use, 30 feet per second to cross the road, would require an intermediate island somewhere in the center.
And it doesn't line up either with the entrance to the shop.
It doesn't line up well at all. That's why we'll consult with them about with our traffic consultant.
We have, on referrals, we've received one from the building, official. We've received one obviously from, Jacobson, ARB, Planning Commission, and CRAD. We have not yet heard anything from the fire marshal or police chief, at this point. There's been a number of things here that I think we still have to look at. I don't think we have all the materials that we need this evening to close a public hearing at this point, based on the additional items that you have brought forth. We need scaling on the plans,
The
architectural plans, okay? We need to all get a copy of your response to Jacobson as well, so we have that for review as well. That's one comment relative to continuation potentially for this evening. It is a public hearing, okay, and I would open it up to anybody in the audience that is for or against, but there's no one here for that, and I don't believe there's anybody online either. Is that right, Sean?
No.
No, so would it be acceptable to the applicant if to be continued?
We're gonna be here on the 16th anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
So I'd like to make a motion to continue the application for Hannaford Commons to our next regularly scheduled meeting of March 16th. Is there a second? Second by Robin. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes 5-0. We'll see you on the 16th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Hi, Jeff. Sorry about the technical difficulties early on, and we had to move you.
Not a problem at all. It's always good to listen to some other applicants. So
Appreciate your patience.
not a problem at all.
The floor is yours.
Oh, excellent. Good evening. For the record, my name is Jeff Board, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Bowler Engineering. We're at 65 LaSalle Road in West Hartford, Connecticut, here on behalf of Walmart. And I know now we've worked with you guys over the course of a few meetings here, and I think back in September, just to refresh your memory, we had come in with an application to increase the online pickup stalls, the number of stalls that they had, and the location of those stalls. And let me know if you guys can see my screen here.
Yes.
Perfect. So when we had come in with that original application, as you recall, there was an area right out front where there's 8 online pickup stalls. And the proposal at that time had been to relocate those stalls over to the left here on this part of the page and increase that by 3. So they were going from 8 to 11 and then moving the online pickup outside of where the front of their store is in the main entrance. So that had been the application at the time. And I think at the time, that's all we were looking at. And we had blinders on to the program and not so much on a lot of the other issues that had been pointed out by this commission on site. And there was a lot of site existing nonconformities. The Walmart's been in place now for 35, 40 years. That we took this opportunity, we withdrew that application, and then came back before this board with a much more beefed up application that incorporated a lot of the feedback we received from you all. We've since gotten a positive ARB referral. And let me just go to the one plan here to show you. So basically, this plan here on screen, on the left side was just the demolition plan. It highlights all of the different signs and pavement relocations that'll be taking place. Here's the 8 stalls that are being relocated. You may recall at that first meeting that, there had been a whole bunch of signage discussions and how there was an exorbitant amount of signs here. I think the last meeting, we had addressed the fact that we removed all of the row signs. We removed some of the garden center hour signs. We removed the existing thank you sign on the cart corral. They really did an inventory based on the discussion and how you guys felt about the signs out here and really took effort to reduce that. And I think that was satisfactory the last month when we presented. The other thing that you guys had pointed out, and those who shopped here, was there was a sightline issue over here that's been remedied. So that's taken care of. We took down the trees that were overgrown that was creating that issue that was turning out of here, made it incredibly difficult. And then we added 3 interior landscaped islands per Jacobson's previous letter. And the last time we were before you, I think we were in a good spot to push a vote at that time. However, we had received Jacobson's letter a bit late, and similar to the previous applications tonight, we didn't have time to get a clean letter from Jacobson. Fortunately, this go around, we did just that. So if you guys are still seeing my screen, let me know if Jeff's letter comes up.
Yep.
So I'll walk through it really quickly. I think we've addressed most of this either through testimony and or he had basically said that he's in agreement. But he had noted here just the number of stalls, and he was highlighting the fact that we have 363 where 398 was required. How we explained that at the last meeting was that there is sufficient parking out here, and what we're counting as Walmart lease area where those 363 are is basically in the back parking field within Walmart's lease line. As you all know, they do have access and a shared parking easement to the front of the store where there's also access in the front. So they do have access to more spaces. So I think you guys as the commission agreed that parking was no issue here. And in fact, we're supportive of adding the landscaping islands that we had put in. This one here, we had chatted about the previous meeting. They're technically by code with that size building, you're required 6 loading docks. Walmart's been operating with 3 loading docks now for 35 years and do not propose any changes or additional asphalt or work to get up to the 6. So that's how we had responded to Jeff in previous testimony. Snow storage area, we relocated. One of the areas that Jeff had commented had been an interior island, so that's been removed. And then the big thing that showed up a whole bunch of times throughout the original letter was about the lighting and how important it was to have these 14-foot poles and measured from, including the base. So originally, based on the scope of work, we were not proposing to do any lighting enhancements. However, we took that to Walmart. We took the comments here, and I think last time we reported that we weren't going to relocate all of the existing poles from the parking lot and move them a foot or two to make them 5 feet back from the curb. But the applicant has agreed to replace every single pole on site to ensure that the fixture is no higher than 14 feet. They're replacing the old, shoebox style fixtures with the slim LED dark sky compliant fixtures throughout the entirety of the parking lot. And then one of the comments that Jeff had was about the yellow color of the concrete bases was to be painted dark, so that's also been added. And Jeff noted in here that he was okay with that, and we added a note on the plan about it being painted dark. This was the same light pole bases 5 feet away from curb. A lot of them are 3 feet away from curb, and what we had said last time was to rip out the entire conduit network and rip up all those concrete bases throughout the existing store lot. Didn't seem to make much sense when you can just replace the fixture heads and the poles themselves, so that's all there. We addressed the interior landscape island, that was addressed. This one here was another one that we had talked about at the previous hearing, where technically speaking, if you were to design a new Walmart or a ground up store, they technically by code, every 4 parking rows, they ask for a landscaped island. In this case, it was every 4 bays, and there's a landscaped island that runs down the middle here. So we meet all of the other interior landscaping requirements, but to do that and add an 8 or 9 foot island, I don't think Walmart would even entertain, just because you'd lose 30-something spaces as it goes one way or the other. And that's something we had chatted through at the last meeting. No more than 15 parking spaces. That was the interior landscape. That was basically those 3 islands, one here, and then one, I believe, underneath this call out. But there was 3 islands added, so we don't have any spaces now or bays that have more than 15 stalls. So that was good. And I should say Jeff was gracious enough, and I've seen the list of things that he's had to deal with in the last couple of weeks. He did get this letter back to us in a very timely manner, so I much appreciate that on the record. This was the snow storage area, or the seasonal outdoor storage area, which had come up at previous meetings. And at the last meeting, town staff had indicated that this owner submits a plan every single year to the town staff about their seasonal outdoor storage, and that would continue to function as is. So no change there from reported at the last meeting. Number of accessible spaces, we addressed this comment. The only tangible comment that we have to change on our plan set from this letter, making it a pretty clean letter, is we need to, if you can still see the screen here, we need to take the word van and flip flop it and move the letters van up 1 space, and then just flip those 2 signs around. So there'll be no change to striping, but that'll be the only plan change that we would ask, if there is an approval, that would just be conditioned upon us making that change, and that's what'll be on the plans that get filed. And then I think, bear with me, I'm almost there. There's only one more sheet here. Wall packs, dark sky compliant, full cutoff fixtures, address that comment. This is all about the lighting. So he had just said, see his 4th, 5th, and 6th comments. Those are all addressed. Existing photos, the light fixtures are not identified. We addressed that. We had submitted the fixtures to him. Additional bollards at the storefront. We had heard from a few of you and Jeff about there was a gap in some of these bollards, and conveniently enough, when you popped into street view, there's a car there, and you could almost see the gap being wide enough where a car could potentially get through. So we did go ahead from the previous iteration and we added 2 bollards here. So that's what Jeff was saying. We've basically addressed that concern. There's also bollards at the garden center door as well that we worked with Jeff on. And then the only other comment, oh, that was just on the existing trees that were not shown. We addressed that and showed both trees. So we finally can say, coming before this commission, that we have a fairly clean letter from Jeff. And I think where this started in September with your help has evolved into something that not only gets Walmart where they need to be operationally on the online pickup front, but solves a lot of existing nonconformities that you guys, quite frankly, have been stuck with for 35 years since this building's been in place. So that was a long-winded way of saying thank you for getting us to where we're at here. And I think we put forth a good effort here that we can bring back to the town.
Commissioners have any questions? I have a couple, Jeff.
Sure.
Can you go back to the layout where the obstructed view? They're gonna change take out those overgrown plants.
Yeah, I might be able to do one better here. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I actually thought it might make more sense to pull up the aerial. image, if that would help understand it a bit better. Because it was a little bit funky here.
You know, if you can't pull it up, it's okay. I
I
can
got it.
ask it based on the.
So it was essentially these trees right here. That's the image that those just
Yeah,
got way overgrown from years
Right.
ago.
Right. And as you continue along the road, the next, you've got that plant on that one right there.
Yep, those will also be taken down. So those are gonna come down with it because those should never have been
Okay.
installed there with what kind of trees they were without proper maintenance. So our
Okay.
professional landscape architects will be proposing that. And if that one didn't come up specifically on a site line, be happy to make that a condition of approval for that one plant to then basically be put forth similar to what we're doing over here.
Yes.
Okay, that's not a problem at all. And that's something Walmart appreciated you guys pointing that out. So,
Can you go back to that first print again?
yep.
You showed,
Okay,
please.
it's coming up right now.
And you can move it down so we can see more along the top. All right, you see where there's an electrical building on the left-hand side?
Over
Right?
here?
Yeah, right. And there's a couple of islands on either side of it.
Yep.
Okay. If it would be nice if the islands were of the correct dimensions that are stipulated in the zoning regulations. And the one on the, I'm gonna call it the north side, which is just above, you have arborvitae's in there. The one on the opposite side does not have any plantings. If you
Okay.
would make the two of them the same size and include arborvitae's in there, that would be a nice enhancement if you were agreeable to that.
We would certainly be agreeable to that. That seems pretty minimal to make those a little bit wider and then add whatever plantings we need to add. So we'd be happy to make that a condition of approval.
Okay, and then I didn't see a cut sheet or anything on the light poles. Does one exist?
On the light poles, I don't think we have a light pole detail. We could certainly get one. They're typically just square black and here's the fixture itself. But typically that would be provided by the vendor and we just have notes on our plans to ensure that a 14-foot pole is not ordered and that they are
It would
ordering
be
a
nice
custom
to have
size.
for the record, a cut sheet showing the height of the pole. And
Sure.
design if available, okay?
Yep, well, we can add that as part of a condition as well. It's not a problem.
And the only other thing that was missing on it was the signature sheet, just for the future. The signature block. Okay.
We'll work with Chris before we filed anything. We'll get that from Chris and team and drop that on.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know if this is a conversation between the two property owners versus us, but there's no direct access from the apartments into the Walmart area. And I didn't know if that was something that those two property owners wanted to talk about as like a good access point versus, getting in between fences and coming out of bushes when cars are driving by, so on and so forth. But I don't know if that has anything to do with this or us, or just.
I don't think it has anything to do with the application per se. I know in the past, prior to the apartment being built, there was a conversation with that property owner, both property owners to do a walkway between the properties and both refused at the time. But that's something that we can look at down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, all my favorite areas. So this is a continuation of a public hearing, for Walmart, and if there's anyone in the room, which there isn't, and there isn't anyone online either that wishes to speak for or against, please speak up. So there's no one here, so we can pass on that. I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
And seconded by Derek Kenny. Any discussion? Not hearing any, move to a vote. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstains? Passes 500. Do we have enough materials this evening to deliberate on this application? I believe we do. Okay. So, I'll make a motion to approve the Walmart application for special exception permit to add an online pickup door, reconfigure the parking lot, including 11 pickup spaces, new signs and safety improvement at 665 Boston Post Road. Assessors map 36, lot 103, shopping center, B2 district, pedestrian node with the following conditions. That the ADA parking spots located, was that that it would be on the eastern side
Yeah,
that you mentioned?
it's northwestern.
Northwest?
Yeah,
To be swapped, to be compliant with the van accessible, correct?
Yep.
And what was that, Jim?
Light pole?
The plants obstructing the sideline.
The plan is-
To replace.
Right, the one that is agreeable and the addition of the one to the southeast,
yes,
I think to also be removed.
And then the islands on either side of the electrical island to both be,
Correct,
have the same side and both include the arborvitae.
correct,
And a cut sheet on the light pole showing the height and the design
correct.
and the signature block.
The signature block. That's everything. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Henry, any further discussion? Not hearing any, move to vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye, opposed, abstain, passes 500. Thanks very much for your patience tonight, Jeff.
no, thank you guys, appreciate it. Take care.
All right,
We'll talk
have a
to you
good
soon.
night.
You too, bye-bye.
Bye. Chris is not here for any updates. We continue to have a pretty full agenda on the 16th. We have a joint meeting with planning on the 18th, and we have a special meeting on the 30th of March. Our next meeting, I think, is April 6th after that. And there could very well be a request to have another special meeting in April as well. And I think by the time we get to the end of April, we may have get through the majority of the applications that we presently have. Right, we're not gonna be, yeah, we'll see what happens. On that note, make a motion to adjourn. Second by John, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstains, passes. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.